All right, I call the meeting to order. Sergeant at Arms, please invite the first witness to the witness table. Please take your seat, Ms. Loh. Thank you. For the record, please state your name, your occupation, and the positions you hold.
Hi, my name is Loh Pei Ying. I am the head and co-founder of a data-viz and editorial studio based in Singapore called Continentalist. In the Workers' Party, I'm a cadre member, and prior to her resignation, I was secretarial assistant to Ms. Raisa Khan.
Okay, thank you. Now, the evidence you'll be giving today before the committee will be taken on oath or affirmation, and if you so desire, you can also take an affirmation. So, clerk, please administer the oath.
I, Loh Pei Ying, do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm that the evidence which I shall give before this committee shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Please be seated. Now, the Committee of Privileges is looking into the complaint made by the Leader of the House, Ms. Indrani Raja, against former member of Sengkang GRC, Ms. Raisa Khan, for breach of privilege. So thank you very much again for attending today's hearing to give evidence before the committee and to answer the questions which members of the committee would like to put to you. Now, you have taken a solemn obligation to answer our questions truthfully, and you are under oath or affirmation. And if you refuse to answer our questions directly or attempt to mislead the committee, such behavior will be an offense and in contempt of this committee. I'll now call on Minister Edwin Tong to raise his questions.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ms. Loh. Thank you very much for coming to assist with the COP proceedings. We will, as you heard from Chairman, Ms. Khan is facing an inquiry into some untruths that were spoken in Parliament and also a failure to substantiate those untruths. That's the substance of the leader's complaint, which this COP is looking into. Ms. Khan in Parliament had admitted to those untruths. This COP, however, needs to understand the circumstances in which those untruths came to be spoken, the statements came to be made in Parliament, and one of our tasks is to assess the context to determine the culpability of Ms. Khan, because one of the things we have to do is to make findings which are factual and also make recommendations as to the appropriate sanctions. So I'll be asking you questions in that context to elicit from you the background circumstances and the context which led up to the statements, the various statements being made. Where relevant, I will also ask you to expand on some of the questions and the answers that you give to help us to understand the context as well. And also, if there are other people who might be able to assist the committee in relation to the questions that I raised with you, please do inform us.
Noted.
Okay. Thank you. Now, Ms. Loh, you mentioned earlier that you, until her resignation, was the secretarial assistant to Ms. Khan. That would have been since July 2020, correct?
That's right.
Prior to that, you were also secretarial assistant to Mr. Pritam Singh. Would that be right?
That's correct.
That's for a period of about 3 years, from March 2013 to January 2016.
Correct.
What led you to step down from that role in January 2016?
Just general fatigue. I was quite tired, yeah.
Okay, I understand. You are presently the head and co-founder of Continentalist.
That's right.
And you're also on its editorial team.
Yes, I am.
You were also previously freelance editor of Trip.com.
Very, very briefly, yeah.
Okay. And for a period, you were also a curatorial research assistant at the ACM.
Correct.
In the context of your role as a secretarial assistant, which I'll call SA for short,
Yeah.
and you've played this role for several years with different members of parliament. Can you give us a broad description of your duties? What do you do?
On both instances, to both Mr. Pritam Singh and Ms. Raisa Khan, my role as a secretarial assistant was confined quite strictly to just organizing their Meet the People session. And that includes helping to roster volunteers for the Meet the People session and also help to draft letters that will be sent to various agencies.
In particular to Ms. Khan, for the past 1 year or so, can you describe this role in more detail?
It's exactly what I've described. I help her roster volunteers to be present at the Meet the People session, and I also help to prepare the letters that will be sent to various government agencies, and that includes verifying factual information, occasionally speaking to residents to confirm details, and etc. Yeah.
Besides this, does Ms. Khan discuss matters with you pertaining to the Workers' Party?
Yes, she does.
Can you give us an idea of what those matters might be?
Time to time, Ms. Khan will share with me, for example, on occasion, if she needs my assistance on some speeches, she might ask me to help take a look or help with some research matters, and also just sort of miscellaneous party affairs, like if there's a meeting, etc. Yeah.
So you would regard that as part of your duties as an SA as well?
Not quite. I see it as my capacity as a member of the Workers' Party and as a volunteer of the Workers' Party.
And presumably as a cadre member as well?
That's right.
Ms. Khan made a number of speeches and also asked a couple of PQs and raised supplementary questions in Parliament. You would be familiar with some of them. She would have discussed it with you.
Only some. Generally, from my understanding, Ms. Khan works on all of her PQs and her speeches on her own.
Understand. When she does discuss her speeches and PQs with you, give me a sense of what the nature of those discussions would be.
It's just to have another set of eyes to look over her speech to make sure that, I guess, the speech is sound. And to sometimes, if she has, some research materials that she wants a second person to verify and confirm facts and figures that's out there for public consumption, and ensuring that, the speech reads clearly and is easy to understand.
And also accurately conveys the points that the speech intends to make?
Yes.
What about after speeches are made or PQs are asked in Parliament? Is there a review?
No, not with me.
Is there a discussion as to what are the learning points?
Not with me.
Not with you. Are you aware if these discussions are held with anybody in the Workers' Party?
I only have second-hand information of what's been told to me, and I believe that the MPs review sometimes after a session.
Do the MPs review before the speeches are made?
I believe the MPs do sort of share speeches with each other prior to making them in Parliament and give each other comments, yes.
You are familiar with a statement made by ex-member of Parliament from Workers' Party, Mr. Daniel Goh, in relation to his suggestion or his own knowledge that MPs usually share speeches and there is a consensus reached on the speeches. Would that be your understanding as well?
I can't confirm this because I'm not part of that process, so I don't know to what degree they confirm on the speeches, but I do know that they sort of review it together.
I'm just asking you from the perspective of your own personal knowledge, so I'm not asking you to second-guess what other people might or might not have done. But from what you know, is that process followed?
Yes.
So the process that Mr. Goh described, where there is a consensus prior to a speech being delivered, that would be followed?
Yes.
And are you aware if anyone else outside of members of Parliament are involved in the process? I mean, for example, there will be speech writers assisting each of the members of Parliament.
To my knowledge, Mr. Pritam Singh has 2 legislative assistants, which he was entitled to hire after being appointed as leader of the opposition. And to my knowledge, they are the only 2 that are involved. I don't know anyone else.
You don't know of anyone else?
Yeah.
But there could be?
I don't know. Yeah.
In the context of the speeches that you do assist Ms. Khan with, can you give me an idea as to what the process is? How is that done?
Usually she's already done with the speech, and it's either the day before or the morning of that she asked me to just take a quick look.
And how are those comments conveyed to Ms. Khan?
Over WhatsApp, I will just give her my thoughts.
Okay. And do you get to see the various iterations of the speech, and do you give your view? How are the drafts turned around?
No, I don't.
You don't?
Yeah.
Besides speeches made in Parliament, do you also assist Ms. Khan with speeches made outside of Parliament? Say at events or
No, I
functions?
don't. Yeah, I don't. But I occasionally assist her with, again, she's already drafted, for example, like a social media post, and I just help to review it and ensure that, again, it's easy to understand, grammar's correct, etc.
So social media on Facebook or Instagram
Yeah.
or any of these other channels?
Yeah.
Understand. So you would generally be, through these touch points, be broadly familiar with the kind of approach that Ms. Khan takes, the views that she holds, the approach that she would take in conveying her views both in Parliament as well as on social media channels. Would it be fair to say that?
I guess I can't really say that I would be, 100% cognizant of
course.
her intentions. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you would be familiar that on the 3rd of August, Ms. Khan made a speech.
Yes.
That was in the context of motion that was moved by the Workers' Party.
Yeah.
Her and Mr. Pereira
Yeah.
were the movers of the motion. And before we get to the portions of the speech that concern that the leader of the House had raised, you will remember that two other points Ms. Khan made was on female genitalia mutilation and on Muslim marriages.
Yeah.
Were you familiar with those topics, and did she discuss that with you?
Not at all. She did not discuss those with me.
So you're not familiar with how it was drafted or who drafted it?
Yes. That particular speech I had no involvement in.
Do you know who had involvement in?
No, I do not.
You have no idea?
No.
It was made without your knowledge, or did you know that such a speech would be made?
No, I did not know that such a speech would be made.
Did you know that such a motion was being moved?
Yeah, I was aware that the party was moving a motion.
And did you not discuss with Ms. Khan whether she'll be making a speech on that motion?
No, I did not discuss with her.
And she didn't raise that with you either?
No.
Are you familiar with anyone who might have assisted Ms. Khan in relation to that speech?
No.
The no means you are not familiar, or no one else assisted her with that speech?
No, I'm not familiar.
So there might have been someone, but you just don't know.
Yeah.
What about after the speech was made? Were you aware of any discussions that Ms. Khan might have had with anyone after the speech was made?
Yes, I have information on that.
Okay. So let's take it step by step. Did she discuss the speech with you after it was made?
Yes, she did.
Can you tell us the substance of the discussion? I'm sorry to interrupt. Starting with when that took place.
Yeah.
The reference point being that the speech was made on the 3rd of August.
Yeah. I first came to learn that she had made the speech on the midnight of the 3rd of August itself. I was late to check my phone messages, and I saw, the discussion and the commotion happening following the news. And thereafter, I gave her my thoughts on the matter. And I know that she had also discussed with Mr. Pritam Singh on the matter.
On the 3rd of August itself?
I believe so, yes.
All right. What thoughts did you give to Ms. Khan on the 3rd of August?
At the time, I had also the same information as the public, which I had the understanding that she had accompanied this survivor to the police station. And I advised her that because it's important to protect the survivor's confidentiality, that she should not share information about the victim's identity, because I didn't think that was the right thing to do.
Right. By the time you spoke with her, had you seen the speech?
Not in full.
I'd like to show you a copy of the speech, an extract of the speech, so that we are all on the same page.
Yeah.
Right. May I, Mr. Chairman, have the clerk hand out a copy of the extract of the speech made by Ms. Khan
Yes,
on
please.
the 3rd of August?
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, as a matter of housekeeping, there might be several documents that we tender. So can I suggest that for identification purposes, we mark them, and perhaps we mark them sequentially, we call them COP 1, 2, 3, and so on.
Yes,
Is
we can do that
okay?
for easier reference.
Thank you.
Ms. Loh, the opening page is the starting point of the motion being moved by Ms. He. If you would just look at the bottom right-hand corner, you will see the page numbers. Could I please refer you to page 90? Do you see that? That's the start of Ms. Khan's speech. She raises various points about sexual violence in the 4th paragraph, sexual assault cases, talking about what happened in the case of a South Korean female Air Force officer. And over the page, you will see the paragraph that I'd like you to focus on, which starts with, "In my line of work." Do you see that?
Yes.
So she says, "I've accompanied people to police stations to make reports on sexual violence. It is already incredibly difficult for survivors to feel comfortable making a report in the first place. But sometimes the responses from those called to protect us can be disheartening. 3 years ago, I accompanied a 25-year-old survivor to make a police report against a rape that was committed against her. She came out crying. The police officer had allegedly made comments about her dressing and the fact that she was drinking." This would have been one of the paragraphs that you had discussed with her in your call on the 3rd of August, correct?
I did not call her on the 3rd of August.
How did you discuss this with her then?
On WhatsApp.
On WhatsApp. So the nature of the discussions that you had with her on WhatsApp would have centered on this paragraph, amongst others?
Yes.
You told us that you said to her that it is important to ensure that the confidentiality of the individual be protected.
Yeah.
Was that the only point you made to her?
That was the primary point.
Would you still have those WhatsApp messages and exchanges with Ms. Khan?
Yeah, I do.
Yes. Over the course of this session, to the extent relevant, and Mr. Chairman will determine that, I will make a request for the production of some documents. And so in relation to this series of WhatsApp chats, I'd like to make a request that you produce them to the COP.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Now, at that point in time, did you ask Ms. Khan whether this occasion actually happened?
No, because I also believed that it was true.
Did she share with you that she was not able to substantiate this account?
I had what information she shared with Parliament, which that she cannot contact the survivor anymore.
So, as of 3rd of August, what you knew was what was said in Parliament.
That's right.
Right. Over the course of your subsequent discussions with her, did that view change?
I don't understand what you mean.
The 3rd of August midnight was when you first had an exchange of messages with Ms. Khan over this speech.
Yeah.
And you are telling us that as of that time, your state of knowledge was exactly as what she had said in Parliament. So you only knew the material that was public. But you also would have engaged in subsequent discussions with her, correct?
Yes, correct.
So at any point thereafter, did your view change? Did you come to learn that this fact or this anecdote was not true?
Yes, I did.
At what stage did you learn that?
On the 7th of August in the evening, Ms. Raisa Khan had WhatsApped me and another party colleague to say that she had done something bad. And then we had hopped on a Zoom call to discuss this, and that's when she told me of the truth.
Can you briefly describe the tenor of the WhatsApp discussion that you had with her on the 7th of August?
It sounded serious, and I was willing to listen to her and also show my concern for her as both a friend and as a party colleague. Yeah.
Of course. Can you give us a gist of the messages that you exchanged with her on the 7th of August?
It was really short. She just said that she had done something bad, and I asked her what it was, and then she did say that at that point of time, she did say that there were only two people who knew of what this was, and she said her husband and Mr. Pritam Singh.
You said that thereafter you hopped onto a Zoom discussion.
Yeah.
Can you tell us who was on the Zoom discussion?
Myself and Mr. Yudhishthira Nathan.
With Ms. Khan.
That's right.
Who is Mr. Yudhishthira Nathan?
He's also a cadre member of the Workers' Party.
Can you tell us a little bit more about Mr. Nathan?
What more do you want to know?
I mean, was he a secretarial assistant as well? Did
To my knowledge, he didn't hold any legislative or secretarial assistant posts, but he was briefly, I think, a member of the Workers' Party Youth Wing, part of the executive committee of the Workers' Party Youth Wing.
So, to your knowledge, what was his role in the context of this speech?
Just as a friend.
So, in other words, not having been involved initially in the speech, but
Yeah.
subsequently given that there was a realization that there was a problem, in your words, a serious problem, he got involved.
Maybe I can add some points to clarify this.
Yes, that would be great.
Myself, Mr. Nathan, and Ms. Khan, we have a WhatsApp group together where we often just discuss things in general. Yeah.
And would Mr. Nathan be one where Ms. Khan would bounce ideas off and discuss generally?
Generally, yes.
So would it include speeches, approaches, political points, strategy, and so on?
Yes, but not this particular speech. Not prior to
Not
her
prior.
making the speech. Yeah.
But certainly after.
Yeah.
There would have been quite an active discussion subsequent to the speech, would you say?
Yes.
In the days after 3rd of August?
Yes.
So that culminated in the 7th of August, and you said there was a Zoom discussion.
Yes.
Can you give us the gist of the Zoom discussion?
She told us that she had lied because she was once a victim or survivor herself of sexual assault. She relayed to us that this had happened when she was overseas, when she was 18, and that she had sought, I guess, to heal from this episode by attending support groups. And that's when she learned of this anecdote. And she told us that she could not share the circumstances of her learning of this anecdote because she also did not want to reveal that she was a member of this support group, and therefore also that she's a victim of sexual assault.
But she made clear to yourself and Mr. Nathan, I beg your pardon, that the anecdote was false
Yeah, that's right.
and that she was not able to substantiate it.
That's right.
What was your reaction?
I was shocked, of course, and very disappointed. Yeah.
What did you advise her to do?
At that point of time, my primary points to her was as a friend. I did not advise her to take any particular course of action. I just listened and maintained her confidentiality because she was a survivor of a sexual assault.
I mean, there are a couple of issues which would have been germane at that point in time. Looking at it from your perspective and just putting together the evidence that you have just given us, you've come to learn of it for the first time. You obviously want to protect someone whom you regard not just as a member of parliament and a fellow party member, but also a friend, as you say. And you therefore are keen to ensure that she is also protected given her own experience. I assume that's one perspective that you had that day.
My desire to so-called protect her was only to protect her confidentiality as a victim of sexual assault, not in any other way.
Were you concerned that a statement had been made in Parliament that was not true?
Yes, I was concerned.
And did you give her any views on that?
I didn't feel a need to because, as I said, at that point of time when she told me, I also had knowledge that our party leader, Pritam Singh, already knew, and it didn't feel like I needed to take any further action on that.
I'll come to that in a moment. But would you be able to describe Mr. Nathan's reaction on this Zoom discussion? First of all, let me back up a little bit. You said there's a group chat, so can you describe Mr. Nathan's responses on this group chat in relation to the discovery that what was said on the 3rd of August was not true?
He had similar views to me, I believe. I can't recall the exact exchange because, as you said, it was quite animated and active.
Animated on the WhatsApp chat?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, it was animated. We obviously felt that we felt bad for her that she was questioned subsequently, and we wanted to comfort her to say that she had answered to her knowledge what she could in Parliament, and that there was no need to further fret on the matter.
When you said answered subsequently, you mean on the 3rd of August itself?
Yes, on 3rd of August.
Because you're probably referring to a subsequent occasion when MOS Desmond Tan stood up to seek a clarification.
That's right.
And subsequently, I think Ms. Khan herself stood up to make a clarification.
That's right.
You're referring to those occasions?
Yes.
Right. Okay, we'll come to the subsequent discussions after 3rd of August later on so that we get the timeline right. I just want to make sure that our lines don't cross. This WhatsApp chat group, could you also produce it to the COP, please?
Yeah.
At least in relation to the discussions on the 3rd of August speech and any other discussions thereafter that you might have arising from this.
Admittedly, I'm not fully comfortable doing so because it also it's a chat for friends. That's what it concerns. So there's like anecdotes about my family and all that there too.
I understand. Yeah. So to the extent that there are these personal anecdotes on your family, I think we should exclude those.
Okay.
But I'm just asking you to give us the chats and discussions in relation to what happened on the 3rd of August, your discussions on that, and anything else that may have developed from that thereafter.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. At the Zoom session, what was Mr. Nathan's reaction?
I think he was just as shocked as me.
What did he say?
I can't recall exactly.
Can you give us a gist of what he said?
I think it was, again, similar to what I said, which is our primary concern was to just console her, listen, and that was primarily it. We didn't advise her on any particular course of action.
So as of the Zoom discussion on the 7th of August, both of you had known that Mr. Pritam Singh was aware that what Ms. Khan said on the 3rd of August was false.
He knew that an untruth had been said, but I think he only knew the full facts after the 7th of August because Ms. Han had shared that she had a meeting with him on, I believe, the 8th of August.
Okay, just hold on to that timeline for a moment. I just want to keep to the 7th of August for the time being. How did you know, as of you and Mr. Nathan know, as of 7th of August, that Mr. Singh was aware that there were untruths spoken by Ms. Khan on the 3rd of August?
I believe, so from what Ms. Han has shared with me, okay, in the WhatsApp group, she said, like before she told the whole thing, she said in the WhatsApp group, I asked who knows, and she said, only my husband and Mr. Pritam Singh, not my husband, her husband. And then and then on the Zoom call, she said, I believe that she told him over the phone that it was not totally true, but I don't think at that point he had the full story, so to speak.
When you made the point about who knows, the knows refer to the fact that there was a false statement said in Parliament.
No, at that point when she sent that message on WhatsApp, I didn't know what was the thing to know.
I see.
I ran through a list. I was like, did you resign? Did you do this? Did you do that? Yeah.
But at some stage before the 7th of August Zoom meeting, you must have known that the fact in question is that there was an untruth said in Parliament.
No, she didn't refer to that. When she said I did something bad, she didn't refer to the 3rd of August. Yeah.
So it was only said in general terms on the chat.
Yeah.
And then it was only on the 7th of August Zoom meeting that you and Mr. Nathan knew that the fact in question, the something bad in question relates to
Yeah, it was only on the Zoom meeting that we realized it was
Wait, hang on, let me
related
finish
to
so
that.
that the
Okay,
transcript
sorry.
can. If we speak
Yeah.
over each other, they can't record. Just to repeat the question, it was on the 7th of August that you and Mr. Nathan knew that the something bad refers to the falsehood that she had said in Parliament on the 3rd of August.
Yeah.
And that was the premise of coming together to discuss the matter on Zoom.
Yeah.
And when she said to you that only Mr. Singh, or at least Mr. Singh and her husband, were aware, did she explain when they were aware?
She didn't explain when her husband was aware, but she did explain that she had a phone call with Mr. Singh that afternoon.
On the 7th of August.
Yes.
Did she describe the nature of that phone call? What was discussed?
Not in tremendous detail, but just that she had told him that it was not true.
Did she tell you or Mr. Nathan at the Zoom call what his reaction was?
No.
You earlier mentioned that.
Sorry, I would like to clarify that. Not that I recall.
Not that you
Yeah.
recall. So she might have.
Yeah,
Yes.
she might have.
She might have told you and Mr. Nathan what Mr. Singh's reaction was.
Yeah. I can't recall exactly. Yeah.
But both you and Mr. Nathan were present, so
Yes.
Mr. Nathan might recall,
I suppose so, yes.
right? Earlier on, when you said your principal focus, and I know you said that in the context of really she's a friend of yours, was on her own confidentiality, in your words.
Yeah.
And you said, and when I asked you about the falsehood said in Parliament, you said, well, I knew Mr. Singh was aware. I take it that you said that because you were somewhat assuaged that senior party members of the Workers' Party were aware, and it is your expectation that the problem will be sorted out at that level.
Yes.
That's your expectation, and would it be fair to say that that's also Mr. Nathan's expectation?
Yes.
Which is why both of you would have been focused on her welfare rather than what was and turned out to be a serious issue in Parliament.
Yes.
This expectation that Mr. Singh was aware and therefore senior members of the Workers' Party would be coming in to solve the problem, was that shared by Ms. Khan?
Sorry, can you repeat that question again?
The expectation that I asked you about, yourself and Mr. Nathan, that Mr. Singh was aware and he would, as a senior party member of the Workers' Party, deal with the problem. To your knowledge, was that also something that Ms. Khan expected or that she shared with you?
I guess to some degree, yes.
Can you
I
elaborate?
can't testify again to how she truly felt on the matter and all her thoughts on it, but I think on her part, she might have felt that, and this is my assumption, on her part, she might have felt that she had done her part to report it to her party leader.
Now, you mentioned that her husband was also aware.
Yeah.
Do you know when he was aware?
No.
But certainly by the 7th of August, he was aware.
According to what she shared with me, yes.
Okay. You also mentioned earlier on that subsequent to the discussion on the 7th of August, that Ms. Khan had a conversation with Mr. Singh. You said 8th of August earlier.
That's right.
How did you learn about this?
Sorry, give me a second. I'm trying to recall. I can't remember when exactly I learned of it, but I believe it was, I think she might have messaged me on the day itself. Yeah.
On the 8th of August.
Yeah.
Can you describe the gist of that message?
She shared that she had informed Mr. Singh, Ms. Sylvia Lim, and Mr. Faisal Manap.
What did she say that she shared with them?
I only have what is on WhatsApp, which is that she discussed the speech, told them the truth. Yeah. I don't know in exact detail of that conversation.
So your understanding is that at the very minimum, she would have told Mr. Pritam Singh, Ms. Sylvia Lim, and Mr. Faisal Manap that the anecdote that she referred to in Parliament was false.
Yes.
What else did she say in the WhatsApp discussion with you on the 8th of August?
I can't recall.
Would you also be able to produce this WhatsApp discussion?
I'll have to check and look at my phone.
Yes, of course. Because that would help us understand what was discussed and also fill in some gaps to the extent that you're not able to recall, which I entirely understand sitting
Yeah.
here. Okay. After the 8th of August, when the three senior party members were aware that there was a falsehood that was said in Parliament on the 3rd of August, what other steps were taken, to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, prior to the 4th of October sitting, I was not privy to what happened in between. Yeah. So basically, on my part, I didn't know anything until after the 4th of October.
To your mind, this would have been a very serious revelation, correct?
Of course, yeah.
Yes. And the expectation is that the senior party members ought to address the problem,
Yes.
correct? And so as a party cadre and as an essay to Ms. Khan, who delivered the speech, were you not surprised that nothing was heard from the Workers' Party, at least publicly, after the 8th of August?
That thought did not cross my mind.
But were you not surprised?
Surprised that nothing was done.
Yes.
I don't know if surprised would be the right word I would use. Yeah.
Well, were you expecting that something would be done? Because you told me earlier that in the hands of the senior party leaders, this is something that you expect them to
Yeah.
work out. So
Yeah.
work out must mean in the context of having said something that is false in Parliament to fix it, to redress it, correct?
I think on my part, I just trusted their judgment, whatever it was. Yeah. Like I didn't feel a need to follow up with them personally on it because I felt they know and they should be wise to know what to do with the information.
So besides Mr. Pritam Singh, Ms. Sylvia Lim, and Mr. Faisal Manap, who were aware by, at the latest, 8th of August, and I think in Mr. Singh's case earlier, who else in the Workers' Party knew that the anecdote was untrue,
No one else to my knowledge.
to your knowledge?
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Nathan knew.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Mr. Nathan, the three MPs, myself. Yeah.
Okay. To your knowledge, was there, I mean, you may not have been involved, but you might have heard of it, discussed it with other people, or been told about it. Were you aware of any meetings that took place between the party, senior party leaders, any of the activists, volunteers, cadres, in relation to this issue?
Not prior to the 4th of October.
Okay. Shortly after the speech was delivered on the 3rd of August, we now know what happened in the few days that led up to the 8th of August, so I'm still around that period of time. On the one hand, and this is the context, on the one hand, you were concerned about Ms. Khan's welfare because of her own revelation to you as a friend. On the other hand, there is a serious issue in Parliament because it's a matter of serious gravamen. And there's also press speculation about the occasion and why Ms. Khan had chosen not to give further details. Would you have seen those press articles? I'm sure you would have come across them.
Yeah, I guess I might have read one or two. I don't particularly take note. Yeah, like articles get sent back and forth like all the time. Yeah.
Yes, there's so many nowadays.
Yes.
But that would have, in the context of where you were in the days following 3rd of August, you must have been concerned. On the one hand, Ms. Khan said this. She now has said it's untrue. She's told senior party leaders. The press is speculating as to why she's not prepared to give more details. You now know that she's in fact unable to give those details and unable to substantiate it, and so does the party leaders. They know that she would have been unable to substantiate any of it because it is not true, it is false. In that context, were you not applying your mind, to what next steps would be in this regard?
Again, not really, because I was just, in my perspective, I'm a friend and also just, a member of the Workers' Party, and Parliament is not necessarily a space or arena that I get myself involved in, and I felt that, like, pretty much the two most senior members of the party knew, and there was nothing further that I needed to do or worry about. Was I worried about Ms. Han's personal welfare? To some degree, yes. Yeah,
Yes.
but beyond that, it didn't cross my mind.
I understand. So, if I can sort of summarize your position, you're saying that because senior party members of the senior party leaders of the Workers' Party were aware, they knew it's untrue, you left it in their hands as to how to deal with it moving forward.
That's correct.
You would have expected that they would protect both the party position as well as Ms. Khan's position?
I can't give an answer to that. I had zero expectations.
You had no expectation.
As in, I just thought, okay, they have the information, whatever they think is best, I trust them on that matter.
So you trusted that they would do what's best for the party and Ms. Khan?
I suppose if you want to list my expectations, I would trust that they would do what's best for the party, Ms. Han, and also for Parliament, being truthful. Yeah.
So that was your expectation?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, post 8th of August, after Ms. Khan told you that she had a discussion with Mr. Pritam Singh, Mr. Faisal Manap, and Ms. Sylvia Lim, and had told them that what she had said in Parliament, the anecdote, was false, what other discussions did you have with Ms. Khan thereafter?
You mean after 8th of August and before 4th October?
Yes.
Silly things like my family issues.
Sorry, I'm sorry, Mr. I don't mean to intrude into those, and I don't need you to explain those. I mean in relation to the issue that we've just been discussing.
In relation to the
steps
issue,
to be taken, what are the consequences?
No, we didn't have any further discussion on this matter particularly.
Was there any views that you exchanged with Mr. Nathan on this?
No.
Did Mr. Nathan?
Not that I can recall. Yeah.
Did Mr. Nathan offer any views to Ms. Khan
Not to my
on your group chat?
Not to my knowledge.
But can you look through, and if there are any, could you also produce them to the COP?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Can I write that down?
Yeah, of course, please do. We will also try and, maybe after we finish with the transcripts, try and make a note of what various requests I've made. Just so I remember, did you say whether or not the thrust of what Ms. Khan's discussion with Mr. Singh, Mr. Manap, and Ms. Lim were on the group chat?
As I said earlier, to my knowledge, what she had told them, she had discussed the speech, not just this particular anecdote, but the speech in general, and she had told them the truth about what she had shared. What she exactly conveyed to them, I'm not privy to that conversation. Yeah.
Okay. Were there any other form of communication besides WhatsApp? Were there emails? Were there other forms of social media?
Not to my
channels?
knowledge.
No Telegram or emails?
No, not to my knowledge.
Okay. But perhaps you could have a look, and if there are any other such platforms which deal with issues that we have been talking about, please
I
do
will.
produce them as well. Okay. Now, let's go to the 4th of October.
Okay.
The 4th of October, Ms. Khan spoke again in Parliament on this issue. And what I thought I'll do is I'll just play an excerpt of the exchange because it's just easier to see it visually.
Okay.
So with Mr. Chairman's permission, may I just show a clip from the proceedings on the 4th of October?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Minister, for the clarifications. Like I said, it did happen 3 years ago, and I haven't been successful getting in touch with the person that I accompanied. And, you know, with regards to confidentiality, I would prefer for it to remain that way. Thank you.
So I asked which police station and which month, and the identities of the officers to the extent that Ms. Khan knows them.
Ms. Khan, to facilitate the investigation by the police to check.
Thank you. I do not know the identity of the police officers.
But questions on police station, date, etc.
With regards to confidentiality with the survivor, I would not like to reveal any of this information. Thank you.
So we're talking about the police station. That's got nothing to do with the confidentiality
Understand,
of the survivor.
Ms. Risaka. Minister's not asking about the identity of the individual.
I understand, but with regards to confidentiality, I will not be revealing any other information. Thank you.
Yes,
I have to say that perhaps the Speaker has the power to direct answers since the matter has been raised. And through you, sir, I ask for a direction to be given that we be told which police station and the month. And if not the date, at least a month and which police station.
Ms. Khan, I think that's a fair question. Would you like to respond, or are you holding the same position? The reason is that certain allegations have been made, which I think are fair and serious, and the police, I understand, would like to follow up to check to make sure that they can rectify the situation. So any leads would be useful without divulging the name of the lady concerned.
Thank you. I'd still like to for it to remain confidential. Thank you.
Minister.
So I don't understand this point about confidentiality. Can I ask through you, sir, for Ms. Khan to confirm in this House that everything she has told us is accurate, that she did accompany such a person, and such an incident did happen?
Ms. Khan.
Yes.
I think we can stop the clip now. I'll just ask questions based on this. So, Ms. Loh, did you see this exchange at the time the exchange took place?
No, I did not see it at the time that the exchange
of
took
it?
place. I learned of this on the, sorry, I wrote it here. I learned of this on the 4th of October through a Yahoo News article. Yeah, I went back to check.
Okay, now let me take it step by step. Prior to the 4th of October, and you would have been aware that there was a parliamentary sitting on the 4th of October.
Actually, I wasn't aware. I wasn't really following the schedule.
You're aware that there is a monthly parliamentary sitting?
Yes, I'm aware, yeah.
Was there any discussion on what Ms. Khan would say if this issue came up again?
Not with me.
Not with you. Are you aware if Ms. Khan discussed it with anyone else?
This is information that I have that was shared with me after the 4th of October. I believe she met Mr. Pritam Singh the day before.
The day before the 4th of October?
That's right.
All right. Can you describe the gist of that discussion?
Okay. She didn't, I can't recall if she's the one to tell me this, but definitely I know in a subsequent meeting that I had with Mr. Pritam Singh in person at his place that he shared with me, he had met her the day before and he had told her that he has a feeling this might come up. And I don't know the full details of what he said to her, but he shared with me that he said, "I will not judge you."
He shared with you and said, "I will not judge you," to you,
To Ms. Raisa Han.
to Ms. Khan. Okay, I'll come to this in a moment, but let's just focus on your knowledge that prior to 4th of October, there was a meeting between Ms. Khan and Mr. Singh.
Yes.
Okay, let's focus on this because you are saying that there's a subsequent occasion where you had direct knowledge because you were at Mr. Singh's house
Correct.
discussing the issue. So prior to the 4th of October, Ms. Khan must have told you or sent you a text to inform you that she had discussed it with Mr. Singh
Sorry, prior to what again?
prior to the 4th of October.
No, she didn't.
No, what I'm saying is that you were aware subsequently that prior to the 4th of October, she had discussed it with Mr. Singh.
Yes.
So sometime before 4th of October, she and Mr. Singh discussed
Yes.
what response she should give if this came up in Parliament.
I don't know if they discussed what response she should give. As I said, it was relayed to me that they had a conversation, and that conversation was that he had a feeling that she would be pressed about this issue again, and his response to that was that he would not judge Ms. Raisa Khan.
But you see, in the context of an issue, and let me again give you the circumstances, there was a very serious issue that had been raised post 3rd of August.
Yes.
We've gone through that. And we are now in a scenario where the leader of the opposition, leader of the Workers' Party, is expecting that this issue will be raised again in Parliament.
Yes.
And so in the context of any discussion that he must have had, which he had with Ms. Khan, one of the key questions that would arise would be what her response ought to be.
Yeah.
Correct?
I would imagine so, yes.
And you would have heard from Ms. Khan that she did have such a discussion with Mr. Singh prior to 4th of October, correct?
Yes.
Are you aware if Ms. Khan had a discussion with anyone else besides Mr. Singh
Not
prior
to
to
my
4th of
knowledge.
October?
Not
Any
to,
other member of Parliament?
Not to my knowledge.
Any activists or volunteers?
Not to my knowledge.
With Mr. Nathan?
No, not to my knowledge.
Okay. When you saw this response that she gave in Parliament, were you surprised?
I don't think I was surprised. Surprised is not the word I would use. Was I scared for her? Yes.
And you must have been scared because this is completely at odds with what you know the truth to be.
Correct.
And you would have expected that there ought to have been a proper resolution of this by coming clean and admitting that it was wrong and false.
Maybe I can give my full thoughts on the matter.
Maybe you can answer my question and then you can elaborate. I'm just asking what your expectation would have been.
Yeah, I can't answer that because it didn't occur to me. Like, Ms. Han and Mr. Singh had a feeling. I mean, they had that conversation that she might be pressed, but I didn't. So I had no. I thought it was done. Like, I didn't think that it would come up again.
No,
So,
I
yeah.
understand. I'm just asking you because, see, you're telling us that you didn't know that there was going to be a discourse in Parliament, right? On
Correct.
this.
Yeah.
And you saw it secondhand, as it were, later in the day.
Yeah.
But having seen it, knowing what you knew, and being involved in discussions with Ms. Khan, with Mr. Nathan, knowing that she has disclosed this to senior party leaders, Mr. Faisal Manap, Mr. Pritam Singh, and Ms. Sylvia Lim, and knowing the truth of the matter, and knowing that the anecdote could not be substantiated, my question is, were you not, perhaps not surprised since you may not like that word, but were you not at least taken aback that that position on several occasions, quite strident and quite confident, that everything that she had said happened? Were you not taken aback?
I suppose I was shocked, but my primary feeling was worry and fear. Yeah.
And you worried and feared because you knew or you appreciated the gravity of the situation.
Correct.
To have lied once in Parliament and then repeated the lie again
Correct.
2 months later.
Correct.
Correct?
Yeah.
And your expectation is that perhaps it's not. Let me rephrase this. Your advice to Ms. Khan would have been to own up to this and deal with the issue and not perpetuate the falsehood, correct?
Yes, and actually, when I read the news, I had told her my personal advice to her was to tell the CEC.
Tell the CEC the truth
Yes.
and that she should go to Parliament to tell the truth.
I didn't go that far. Lah.
But that must be the natural
Yeah,
consequence
I
of
mean,
that,
telling
right?
the CC would necessitate that the information would come to public knowledge. Yeah.
Yes, and in fact, she did tell the key members of the CEC, Mr. Singh, Ms. Lim, and Mr. Manap.
Yes, but my message was to tell the whole CC.
Well, what you do know is that at least those three were aware.
Correct.
Whether there were anyone else on the CEC who was aware, you're not so sure,
Yeah.
right? You mentioned that sometime subsequent to the 4th of October, you then met with Mr. Pritam Singh at his house.
Correct.
What date was this?
12th of October.
Can you describe how this meeting came to be set up?
I had reached out to him
How did you reach out to him?
on WhatsApp.
Can you tell us the gist of that discussion on WhatsApp?
I just said, hi Pritam, I said Yudish and I would like to meet you to discuss basically what had transpired.
And what was his response?
He said, okay. And gave
Was-
me his address. Yeah.
Okay. And can you tell us whether prior to the meeting, yourself and Yudish had any prior discussion? You must have had for you to agree to go to a meeting together, right?
Yeah, so on the earlier on the 12th of October, I believe Ms. Han phoned me, and I mean, if I recall correctly, a lot of things has happened then. So she phoned me to share with me that I think there was a decision for her to make the statement to clarify with Parliament, and my request to meet with Mr. Pritam Singh was to confirm how it should take place. Yeah.
When you saw the statement that she gave in Parliament on the 4th of October, and knowing what you knew at that point in time, were you not surprised that Mr. Singh would sit in Parliament along with Ms. Lim and Mr. Manap and allow Ms. Khan to perpetuate and repeat the lies several times?
Maybe I can again give a fuller explanation of my thoughts. At that moment, my primary concern was fear and worry for both Ms. Han and the party. It was only much later when I had more time to think about it that I felt that he should have spoken up.
And why do you think he should have spoken up?
Because he's the leader of the opposition and of the Workers' Party. And it's the right thing to do.
When you saw the exchange on the 4th of October, does it not suggest to you that, because you subsequently knew that there was a prior discussion between Ms. Khan and Mr. Singh, you would have thought that this was the agreed position between Ms. Khan and Mr. Singh, correct?
I'm not sure how to answer that because, as I said, I didn't even know the sitting was happening, and I didn't know she would be pressed again. And I didn't know that they had a conversation prior.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair enough because you knew this only later.
Correct.
But now that you know what you know, would it not be a fair assumption that the meeting prior to 4th of October between Mr. Singh and Ms. Khan was to settle the terms of what she would say if she's pressed,
Yeah, I would
which he had
imagine.
expected would happen?
Yeah, I would imagine that they should have discussed the best way to handle it.
And so, were you taken aback or surprised that this was the agreed position with the party leader in Parliament?
But I mean, I knew it wasn't the agreed position to take because Mr. Singh had left the choice up to her with his words of, I will not judge you.
But certainly Mr. Singh, by that time, knew what the true position was. And he was present in Parliament when those falsehoods continued to be perpetrated, correct?
Correct.
As a senior party member and a cadre member, were you not surprised?
I was not surprised, but I was disappointed.
What do you think Ms. Khan's role in that was? Because as I explained at the start, what we need to do as a COP is to assess her culpability, relative culpability. And one of the important points for us to consider is the extent to which she made her own decisions or she had sought the counsel or advice of senior party leaders. So in that context, do you think this is something that Ms. Khan went along with, was told to do, or decided on her own volition to continue to lie in Parliament?
I can't really give an answer to that. I really don't know.
I'm asking you to make a judgment based on the fact that not just are you Ms. Khan's essay, but a friend, someone who knows her reasonably well,
Okay.
and with whom she obviously confides in, because
Yeah.
you and Mr. Nathan, besides her family, will be the only ones she confided in.
Yeah. I think given that Ms. Han and Mr. Singh's experience with politics is very different, considering Mr. Singh is more seasoned, that she would have relied on him to some extent for clarity and direction, and that because he said, "I will not judge you," might have given her the false sense that it was all right to not come clean. Yeah.
This phrase, "I might not judge you, I will not judge you," was intended to convey a sense of assurance to Ms. Khan, right?
I don't know like how it was said. Yeah. So
I'm asking you from the perspective of you having heard from Ms. Khan, who reported the conversation to you.
actually it was Mr. Singh who shared with me the
Who shared this with
conversation.
you. What was your takeaway since you heard directly from him?
I suppose he was implying that he gave her the choice. Yeah, and that she had then acted independently thereafter.
That's what he's implying.
Yeah.
But your expectation is that as a senior party leader, as you said, he is more seasoned and would be expected to guide her in that process, correct?
Correct.
So on the 12th of October, coming back to this meeting, Yudish and yourself had arranged to meet with Mr. Singh.
Correct.
Was Ms. Khan present?
No,
What time was this meeting?
it was late at night. I think around 8 or 9 p.m.
Can you, as far as you can recall, recount the meeting to us? What happened? Who said what? And what was discussed?
It was a fairly long meeting, so I won't be able to recall everything, but I can give you the
Of course,
gist.
please do.
The gist was to discuss if what would happen after she informs Parliament of the truth, meaning how she should say the truth and procedurally what I would be involved in and what Mr. Nadan would be involved in thereafter, such as, for me, on my part, maintaining open communications with residents and volunteers about the matter because we knew that everyone would be shocked. And on Mr. Nadan's part, to help maintain any social media sort of messages and things like that, because we know she would receive a lot of messages thereafter.
Mm-hmm.
So he was brought in to, help manage that, I suppose. Yeah.
Did you discuss how you would put across the points in Parliament to clarify her position?
Yeah, there was a discussion of how she should tell the truth and to what extent of personal information she should reveal. So definitely the consensus was that she should tell the truth, but that she had lied. But we were not sure if she should share that personal anecdote of her being a sexual assault survivor herself.
At any point in this meeting, did the meeting discuss why she could not or should not have told the truth earlier? I mean, after all, this is barely a week after the last sitting.
So you mean why she didn't say the truth when pressed on the 4th of October?
The 4th of October.
No, we didn't discuss that.
You didn't discuss that because you and Mr. Nathan, I presume, had assumed that this was something that was discussed between Mr. Singh and Ms. Khan.
No, I think we didn't discuss it because it was just like water under the bridge, like happened already. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I guess I can understand that. What else was discussed at this meeting? For instance, did you have some points? Was there a draft?
No, there was no draft.
Did you take notes as to what was discussed and how
No,
to
we
work
didn't
together?
take notes. It was just a discussion of, I mean, let me give a bit more context as well. When I went to the meeting, my primary concern as her friend was to make sure that her mental well-being was protected. And understandably, everything that has transpired is a very stressful event for Ms. Han. And given that she was a victim of sexual assault as well, I was worried that a revelation like this to the public would be very hard for her to bear. And I had gone to that meeting with, you know, the intention of working things in a way that she could be protected as much as possible.
At the meeting, can you give me a gist of what Mr. Singh said, his approach, his thinking, and what he told her to do, or what advice he gave her, and to yourself and Mr. Nathan?
Yeah, his advice to give to her was that she needed to tell the truth. And I mean, he was very sure of that, but he wasn't sure if she should reveal the circumstances of her sexual assault. And then, I mean, it revolved largely around that. Yeah, I can't recall exactly like the specifics of our conversation.
After this meeting, did you share your thoughts on what have transpired at the meeting with Ms. Khan?
Sorry, I'm trying to recall. I think briefly. Yeah, briefly.
It must have been so, because you are here discussing, again in context, it is now 2.5 months since she first gave a false anecdote in Parliament. Since then, she has faced several questions from the media. There's been a further questioning in Parliament, a very direct one, as you can see earlier. And thereafter, in the aftermath of October, the 4th October sitting, there were even more focus on why she could not come with details. Now, on the 12th of October, you are discussing a course which is diametrically opposite to everything that she had done previously.
Right.
She is not present at the meeting.
Yeah.
So it would have been natural for you or Mr. Nathan or both to have discussed these details with her. Because how would you know that she would now do this?
Yeah, I can't remember how we discussed it with her, but I think we informed her in some way or another that that we are here to help her, basically, me and Mr. Nandan.
But you must have narrated to her what transpired, what it was agreed
Not
for her
everything.
to do.
Yeah.
So what did you tell her?
I told her that yeah, it was right thing, like it's the right thing to do. I think maybe let me just rewind a little bit. I think when she called me on the 12th of October to tell me that she was going to tell Parliament of the truth, there was a degree of worry on her part of how, obviously, you know, how it will affect her thereafter, which is why I went to seek Mr. Singh's confirmation of how it would take place so that things can be put in place to ensure her mental well-being, as in, because it would be really bad. So, you know, to make sure that at least she was not so bad, you know, after. So after we had the discussion with Mr. Singh, I believe we conveyed to her that, you know, okay, it's the right thing to do and we will support you in this endeavor. Yeah. And that support, as I mentioned, refers specifically to me, you know, ensuring that communications remained open with volunteers and residents, and on Mr. Nadan's part to ensure that, you know, there was someone looking after her social media accounts after that.
Okay, I understand this. So, would you say that after the 12th of October, there was a consensus that she would now make a clarification in Parliament?
Correct.
Did you start to put together the terms of what she would say, discuss it with her, Mr. Nathan?
Ms. Han drafted her own statement, but Mr. Nathan and I did sort of help to review it and assist it in, again, polishing grammar, clarity. Yeah.
Are you aware if anyone else gave Ms. Khan comments on the draft?
Yes, I am aware.
Can you tell us who gave comments to her?
There were not many, but there were a few versions of this draft before the final statement. And I believe Mr. Singh, Ms. Sylvia Lim, not sure about Mr. Faisal Malak, but definitely Ms. Sylvia Lim and Mr. Singh had given her comments.
What about the two MPs who moved the motion, Ms. Her and Mr. Pereira?
They were not aware of what's going on at this point,
To your knowledge?
to my knowledge.
What was some of the input given by Mr. Singh, Ms. Lim, and perhaps Mr. Manap? Can you give us a gist?
I can't recall exactly. I was only present for their comments on one part of one occasion of the draft. And I think there was a discussion of, how much personal information she should reveal. Yeah. Like the details of her sexual assault. Yeah.
Let me tell you where I'm coming from on this, so that you can understand the angle I'm taking. I'd like to understand the evolution of this draft, beginning from the 12th of October, your discussions, which were obviously, according to your evidence so far, which I understand, was the genesis of what eventually transpired in Parliament on the 1st of November. So there's roughly a 2.5 week window. So I'm trying to understand the evolution of the draft, and you said that there were a few versions of the draft being exchanged, several people giving comments to it. So I'd like, as far as possible, for you to track for me the evolution. What was initially agreed, what was added in or removed, what were the discussions on this, and how eventually it became the version that we saw on the 1st of November.
Okay. Admittedly, I cannot remember everything. And I don't know what was removed or added, but I think it was really almost kind of like rearranging paragraphs of like what should come first and things like that. So I don't recall on my part there was like major subtractions. It was sort of not redacting, sorry, that's the wrong word. Removing parts where, for example, she would describe why she did not report her own sexual assault when she was younger. Yeah, so we removed a lot of, sort of the personal reasons for why she lied, in terms of her logic and explanation. And we, our edits were primarily for legibility, clarity, and again, ensuring that there was a message to, thank you, tell the lie, come clean with the lie as truthfully as possible and with as much clarity as possible, I guess. Yeah.
Was there a discussion on the reasons why she told the lie?
The reason was always the one that she shared, which is, she didn't want to reveal that she was part of the support group. Yeah.
Let me ask for the club to play the excerpt of the proceedings on the 1st of November, and then I'll ask you some questions about that statement. Could the clerk assist me, please?
While we're waiting for that, maybe I'll just ask, in terms of what was the form in which these exchanges were taking place? Was it WhatsApp? Was it through email?
For the drafts specifically, it was in person.
Meaning hard copy and
Yeah,
photos and so on?
they were printed copies and...
And you would have some of these copies still available?
No, I don't have any of them.
That's why I'm making this apology today.
Yes, I understand.
Can you, sorry, I'd like to start with Ms. Khan's statement. I think she made a brief statement before she was asked some questions by leader.
On the 3rd of August, I spoke in this House on the motion on empowering women. During my speech, I had shared an anecdote of a survivor of sexual assault. I was not present with the survivor in the police station as I described. The anecdote was shared by the survivor in a women's support group for women, which I was a part of. I did not share that I'm part of the group as I did not have the courage to publicly admit that I was part of it. I attended this support group because I myself am a survivor of sexual assault. I was sexually assaulted when I was 18, studying abroad. That assault has traumatized me till this day. The fear and shame accompanying sexual assault is extreme and long-lasting, as it has been and still is for me. Unlike the survivor whose anecdote I shared in this House, I did not have the courage to report my own assault. Yet, as a survivor, I wanted so deeply to speak up and also share the account I had heard when speaking on the motion, without revealing my own private experience. I should not have shared the survivor's anecdote without her consent, nor should I have said that I accompanied her to the police station when I had not. It was wrong of me to do so. To survivors of sexual violence, I hope that this does not deter you from reporting your assaults. In sharing an anecdote without consent, I disregarded the principle of consent in discussions around survivors, consent, and sexual assault. As a survivor myself, I feel this failure deeply. It is important for me to take responsibility for my actions, for my error of judgment, and to set the record straight. I wish to correct the record by retracting the anecdote that I shared on the 3rd of August, and I wish to apologize to the Singapore Police Force.
Okay, we can stop there. There are several other exchanges, and I thought rather than play it here and take time, I will get a hard copy to you so that you have a reference point in case you can't remember what was exchanged between herself and the leader. So could the club please give to Ms. Loh copies of the extracts from the 1st of November? While waiting for that, Ms. Loh, I assume that this would have been one occasion where you watched this live.
Hilariously, actually, I didn't because something happened in the office and I needed to rush to office.
Okay. But you would have watched it sometime shortly after, I assume.
I managed to rush home in time to only watch the part where Ms. Indrani Raja questioned her.
I see. So not the initial statement, but the subsequent exchange.
Yeah.
Which you now have before you. So you would have seen it, this is about a month ago, but I put the record here so that you can refresh yourself. Now, if you follow a few lines from where we stopped the video, you will see that the exchange between Ms. Khan and the leader, she confirmed that she had in fact not gone down to the police station, and that's not true, right?
Yeah.
And the part about accompanying the survivor to the police station and what the member allegedly saw was also untrue, right?
Yeah.
And further down, Ms. Khan accepted that the statement that the person that I had accompanied, which was her response later in the day on the 3rd of August, was also untrue, correct?
Yeah.
And finally, if you look further down the page at page 3, Ms. Khan confirmed that when she was asked by Minister Shanmugam that everything she had told us is accurate, she did accompany such a person and such an incident did happen, and her answer of yes on that occasion was untrue, right?
Yeah.
Now, would you accept that I can show you the relevant portion of the rest of the transcript, but would you accept that there would have been no need to refer to the question of the support, her own attendance at a support group, to make the point that she wanted to?
Yes, I suppose there was no need to.
Ms. Khan herself accepted that in the course of further discourse between herself and the leader, right?
Sorry, let me read it a bit.
Sure. Let me refer you to page 4. And if you look at page 4, you see somewhere around the first one-third, Ms. Raja says, I do completely empathize with the reason. All I'm asking is this, and I'm not sure I had a response. My question was simply, it would have been possible to tell the story without the untruths and without referring to the survivors group. Would the member agree? Ms. Khan says, sorry. So if I was unclear, I apologize. Yes, I do feel it would have been possible. So she accepts that it's possible to make the speech, make the same points, but without going into the support group.
Mm-hmm.
Further down the page, in fact, over the next page, at page 5, Ms. Loh, you will see in the middle, Ms. Khan says, one of the principles of being in a women's support group is that the details should remain confidential. You see that?
Yeah.
Ms. Raja then goes on to say, a few lines down from there, that she did not want to disclose because of confidentiality, but based on what the member has just said, actually, by that time, because the story had already been recounted, it means the member had already breached the confidentiality to the survivor. Is that not correct? Ms. Khan's answer, that is correct, yes. So, confidentiality is also not a reason for having put up the false anecdote. Would you agree? Meaning, if you follow the exchange between Ms. Khan and Ms. Raja, the fact of the matter is that the moment you describe, and she described it as a 25-year-old 3 years ago and so on, the moment you describe that occasion, that's a breach of the confidentiality already, which
Yeah.
Ms. Khan accepted, right? So actually, confidentiality was not a reason for having given the false anecdote. Would you accept?
I think there are varying degrees of confidentiality. Sorry, it's a long word. And I think, while now we understand that what that means is not including not revealing, details of what was shared in that support group. I suppose, without providing personal information, just saying that this happened, somebody went to a police station, this happened, was like,
But
all right, I guess. I don't know.
But I think, you see, Ms. Khan accepted it, and I think it is fairly common as a standard when it comes to mutual support groups in particular, that even mentioning this would be a breach of the confidentiality, and I think Ms. Khan agreed with that. So on that basis that Ms. Khan had agreed with that, would you not agree that actually confidentiality was no excuse, not a reason for giving the false anecdote? It stands to reason, right?
I don't know how to respond to this question.
If I come and say that, well, because of confidentiality, I had to lie, when in fact you had already breached the confidentiality, there would be it would be a circular argument, right?
Yeah, I think there's a slight separation here. Prior to, knowing that she had lied, confidentiality of protecting the victim, to me, is a good reason. To
Yes.
me, yeah.
To you, but
Yeah,
I'm asking
but
you to look at it from the perspective of
but
Ms. Khan.
thereafter, I don't think it was Ms. Raisa Khan's intention to say that she had lied because of confidential reasons. She had lied to keep her identity as a sexual assault victim private.
Yes, but as we agreed on that earlier, that fact need not have been disclosed. It could have remained private, and still Ms. Khan could have made the same points. A
Yeah.
point that she had agreed to herself.
Yeah.
Right? So where I'm coming from, Ms. Loh, is that, in fact, if you look at what we've seen on the screen earlier, the additional reasons which explain or seek to explain away why she gave the false anecdote. They don't hold water, right?
I personally disagree. My perspective, and this was something we also, I mean, I shared with her personally at some point, that it was important that in her statement, she made known her personal anecdote to some small degree, because it is a thing that people often disbelieve sexual assault survivors, and without sharing that experience, her lie would seem really, really bad, for lack of a better word. And the repercussions is not so much on her, but on other sexual assault victims.
Yes, and which is why in this case, instead of sharing her own story to make the speech in Parliament more believable, she made up a story about accompanying a victim. And the purpose of doing that was to lend believability and credibility to the account, right?
I mean, I can't answer that for why she lied. I mean, she has her own reasons, you know.
I mean, looking at it with your own lens, that would have been, objectively, that would have been the reason for giving that account.
That would have been a consequence. Yeah, I don't know if it was a reason.
All right. Okay. So you accept that the consequence of someone listening to a speech, reading a speech with a personal anecdote,
Yeah,
which in this case was a false one,
yeah,
would get the impression that this is a more credible story.
correct.
Right.
Yes, I agree to that.
Now, earlier on, Mr. Chairman asked if the drafts were exchanged in copies which you still have. Do you still have them?
No, I don't have any of them.
Who would have them?
Miss Han.
Ms. Khan would have them.
Yeah.
She would have kept the various versions exchanged.
I'm not sure if she
comments?
kept it now. Yeah.
Were any of these drafts circulated by email?
No,
Or WhatsApp?
not to my knowledge. Yeah,
At least not to you,
yeah, not
but
to
it may
me.
have been to other people.
Yeah, maybe.
So just to be clear, can you tell me who was involved in reviewing the draft? Besides Mr. Singh, Ms. Lim, yourself, Ms. Khan, was Mr. Nathan involved?
Yeah, Mr. Nathan was involved.
Who else was involved?
Not to my knowledge. Yeah.
Were any of the other senior members of WP involved?
No. I mean,
Not to your knowledge.
not to my knowledge, but sometime when I guess there was I mean, I wasn't part of this conversation, but I assume at some point there was a informing of party leaders, like the CEC, and then the statement was made.
So you would expect that this statement, whilst principally drafted and commented upon by a few people, would get the clearance and buy-in of the CEC.
I'm not sure about that.
You're not sure.
Yeah.
Is that what you expected?
I don't expect that. Yeah, I think they would have been informed that she would be coming clean, but I don't know if, they saw a copy of the
So
statement.
they would know what she would be planning to do to come
Yeah.
clean, but may not know the specific details of what will be in the statement.
Correct.
But you do know that Mr. Singh and Ms. Lim were aware and were giving comments and were part of the drafting process.
Yeah, they were part of the drafting process. They were giving comments lah. Yeah, but I don't think they actually typed in the words. That's all Miss Han.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
But, you can shape and put a direction to it even without
Yeah.
having to type in the words, right?
Yeah, so I wouldn't use the term drafting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Influencing.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in this period of time, and I'm still at the 12th October,
Okay.
there's about 2.5 weeks before the 1st of November, which is when we saw the speech.
Yeah.
What was the discussion that you had with Ms. Khan?
Predominantly just about the statement.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, just about her MPS, that's all. Yeah.
Were there any interactions that you had with anyone else from the WP
No.
on this issue? No?
No.
Not at all? Would you be able to check your phone for messages to see if there are any other communications that you might have had?
Yeah, I will. Yeah, but I'm quite sure on that. Yeah, because it was obviously very serious, and we wanted to,
Okay.
keep it contained.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those occasions where you exchanged a draft, earlier on you told Speaker, Mr. Chairman, that it was in hard copy. And you also told me that on the 12th of October, there were no drafts yet.
Yeah.
So obviously, sometime between 12 October and 1st November, you must have met together again to discuss the drafts, right? Since you said it's not on email.
Yeah.
So can you describe that to me, please? When did you meet? Who did you meet? What dates? How many times? What was discussed?
Okay. I didn't write this down for some reason. I can't remember exactly when we met, but I was part of one meeting at the Workers' Party headquarters, and people present were who I already shared. Yeah.
Just for the record, it's Mr. Singh, Ms. Lim.
Mr. Singh, Ms. Lim, Ms. Naden, myself, and Ms. Han.
Okay. What date would this meeting be?
I can't remember.
But sometime in the intervening period between 12 October and 1st November.
Yeah.
Okay. There would have been WhatsApp discussions to set up the meeting, right? To explain that there was a draft that was done.
Yeah. I was informed by Mr. Singh. Yeah.
Okay, so you have a chat with him as well?
Yes.
Would you be able to produce that?
Yeah.
To the
this
extent
part,
relevant
yeah.
to any of the issues concerning the COP? Anything arising from or related to the speech that was made in Parliament on the 3rd
We
of August?
didn't discuss on text. Yeah, the details. Yeah.
Well, to the extent that you find anything, can you please
Okay.
give us a copy? Besides this meeting, were there any other meetings?
Not to my knowledge.
So you had one meeting to discuss the drafts,
Yeah.
and it was at that meeting that views were exchanged.
Yeah.
Were they exchanged verbally, or did someone mark up the drafts? How was that done?
Verbally.
Verbally.
Yeah.
Can
Yeah.
you, I know it's about 6 weeks ago, but can you try to recall, actually it's less than 6 weeks ago, it was about maybe a month ago. Can you try and recall who said what at that meeting?
I think in that meeting there was a discussion. I think Miss Han had showed her family a version of the draft, and I think they were very concerned. So there was a lot of discussion on her family that day. Yeah.
Can you give
Because-
us the gist of that concern and the discussion?
Yeah, because I guess even to my knowledge, even at the 12th of October, her parents did not know of the truth and of her own sexual assault. So it was like a lot of things to take in for them, lah. Yeah. So her parents were very upset on various reasons, the fact that she lied, the fact that she was sexually assaulted, and the fact that she lied, and then that she was gonna have to tell everything to Parliament. So they were very, very concerned, and a lot of the discussions was how can we word her statement to ensure her parents were respected, and to allay their concerns. Yeah.
Was her family aware of what had been discussed on the 12th of October and the eventual position taken by Ms. Khan and Mr. Singh?
Aware of?
Aware of what she plans to do at the next sitting of Parliament?
I don't know when they were made aware exactly. I can't recall. But they knew, definitely before she made the statement, they knew lah. Yeah. So that meeting was to, kind of go over their concerns, I suppose. Yeah.
Their concerns related to, were they drafting issues, or was it a question of whether this should have been done at all in broad direction, or is it what kind of points to be raised?
I think what kinds of points should be raised, yeah. I can't recall.
Your sense is that the family would have been agreeable to her coming clean in Parliament to speak the truth?
I don't know exactly what was exchanged between her and her family members, but I think what I understood was that her family was very worried on, again, also like her well-being lah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Are you aware if her family met with or spoke to or communicated with any members of the Workers' Party?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Now, we were in the process of going through what was discussed at the meeting on the, I forgot if you gave me a date. You said a few days after the 12th of October, right?
I don't know if it was a few days. I can't. I genuinely cannot remember. Yeah,
At the Workers' Party HQ.
Yeah.
And we were going through what was the individual responses by each person. So you said that the concerns of the family members took quite a bit of time.
Yeah.
Besides this, were there any other comments that you can remember?
As I said, the conversation was primarily around her family's concerns, to what degree of, how much she should explain why she lied, like, as I said, like, why she didn't report her own sexual assault, and yeah.
Did anyone else in the Workers' Party who was present, Mr. Singh, Miss Lim, or Mr. Nathan, talk about the two reasons that she gave on confidentiality and also on the mutual support group? The very two reasons that she agreed with Ms. Raja subsequently were not factors which would have mattered. I showed you them. I showed you those passages.
Yeah. I understand. I'm just thinking if they did. I don't think they mentioned specifically confidentiality. I think, yeah, I can't recall if they did.
You see, to just assist you a little bit,
Yeah.
confidentiality could not have been a new point at that point in time, because it was in fact the core of Ms. Khan's answers on the
I
4th
understand.
of October.
Yeah.
So confidentiality could not have been a new reason.
Yeah.
And in fact, it was used as a reason for not going into further details on the 4th of October, which, if you remember, Ms. Loh, was took place after Ms. Khan and Mr. Singh had a discussion on the parliamentary sitting and the expectation that this issue would come up. Right? So that's the context. And therefore, I'm assuming, for the time being, that Mr. Singh, Ms. Khan knew that confidentiality will be used as one reason or one excuse on the 4th of October for not disclosing further details. And that seemed to have carried through to the 1st of November meeting, 1st of November speech, rather.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to ask you if you can remember any discussions along this vein.
So, okay, you're asking if Mr. Singh or any other party members or leaders had requested that the confidentiality reason be addressed in her statement? Is that what you're asking?
Well, not so much anything about it.
I don't. I mean, I can't recall. I don't think so. Yeah.
Okay. Perhaps if we looked at the drafts that had been revised over time, the evolution of the drafts, I mean, which you say Ms. Khan has, perhaps that would shed some light.
Yeah, but after that meeting, it had evolved a bit more, and I was not part of those. Like when I saw her speech, it was like new to me. Yeah, like as in, it didn't change severely, but I was like, oh, okay, this is the final version.
So there are parts of it which had been changed subsequent to your involvement.
Yeah.
And which you saw only for the first time on the 1st of November.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, at any point in time between the 12th of October, when you decided or you had a meeting with Mr. Singh to come clean and how to deal with it, and if you remember, you said that prior to that meeting, there was a call, the discussion that you had with Ms. Khan about her coming to Parliament to come clean. At any point in time between that and the 1st of November, was there any discussion, to your knowledge, about what Workers' Party would do consequent upon her giving this statement on the 1st of November?
What the Workers' Party would do, as in like put out a statement or?
Put out a statement, set up a disciplinary inquiry?
No.
Nothing whatsoever?
No.
In fact, what were the words you said Mr. Singh said to you about Ms. Khan?
On the 4th of, like after the,
No, you mentioned that Mr. Singh told you that he will not judge Ms. Khan.
yeah, that was on the 12th of October.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that, I think we earlier agreed, you took as a sign that that was reassuring, right? He's prepared to let her do as she thinks appropriate.
I mean, I would assume he's prepared. If he if he said that to her, meaning, I mean, you say that with the knowledge that it could go either way, right?
Yes, but
Yeah.
he's also saying that with the knowledge that as early as a few days after the statement was made, he was aware that it was false.
Like after the 1st of November statement.
No, after the 3rd of August speech.
Yes, yeah, he knew it was false
You
when he
see,
said that.
The context is this: there's a speech that was made in Parliament. It is to speak a falsehood anywhere is serious, but in Parliament it is all the more so. The leader of the party is aware, shortly after the 3rd of August, that it was false. He sat by and discussed it with her in expectation that 2 months later this issue will come up again. And he was in Parliament when she reiterated the falsehoods several times, including a very strident answer that we saw the video of earlier. And then there was a meeting to say, let's come clean. But he says to her through you that he will not judge her. In the context of this,
He didn't say that to her through me. He said it to her directly in a meeting that the two of them had. But then later on the 12th of October, he
recounted
relayed
it
that.
to you.
He recounted it to
Okay,
me. Yeah.
I understand. Thank you for that clarification. And in that context, nothing was said about what sanctions would take place and so on.
No.
So this is the context that I have sketched out.
Yeah.
My question is, in that context, did it surprise you when Workers' Party decided to set up a disciplinary inquiry?
Yes, it surprised me.
Right. I'd like you to look at the two statements issued by the Workers' Party on the 1st and on the 2nd of November. And I'll hand you a copy. if I
Okay.
may. Could the clerks please assist me? The 1st and 2nd November statements of the Workers' Party. One is titled the Secretary General's Statement. The other is titled the Workers' Party Media Statement. 1st and 2nd November, respectively. So, Ms. Loh, let me just take you through the two statements briefly. On the 1st of November, this is shortly after we saw the clip in Parliament earlier, shortly after the parliamentary sitting. The Secretary General released a statement which says, MP Raisha Khan should not have shared an account that contained untruths in the House. Let me just pause for a moment. Did you read this statement when it was issued?
Yeah, I mean, I only read it after it was issued. I was not privy that a statement would be coming out.
Did the first line strike you as odd, given that, in fact, the Secretary General was present in Parliament when she not just shared the untruth, but continued to perpetrate it on the 4th of October?
I wouldn't say that it struck me as odd.
What was your reaction? You think this is usual?
My honest opinion is, and this is my personal opinion, is that I was, not surprised that a statement had been made because I think he felt obliged, and it was kind of made sense that after a big revelation that the Secretary General put out a statement. But I was, I suppose, not fully happy with the contents of this statement because it did not reveal his knowledge of the matter.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This seeks to draw a line and a divide between what he knew, what the Workers' Party knew, and what Ms. Khan did. Correct?
Yeah, it was, and this is my personal opinion, that the intention of this statement was to make it seem that way.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
It goes on to say that the PPIA gives an MP significant freedom of speech to the extent that what is said in Parliament cannot be impeached or questioned outside Parliament. This freedom of speech does not extend to communicating untruthful accounts, even if an MP's motives are not malicious. Again, bearing in mind the context that I've raised earlier, and bearing in mind what happened on the 4th of October, given that there was a discussion between Ms. Khan and Mr. Singh prior to 4th of October, which centered around his expectation that this issue would be raised, and therefore what she should say in response, does this sentence strike you as odd, surprising?
The sentence MP Raisahan should not have shared an account.
Yes. Does it also strike you as one which seeks to divide the line between what he, as the Secretary General, knew, and the Workers' Party knew, and what Ms. Khan did?
I don't know if it sought to divide, but it's my feeling was that it seemed to want to separate matters lah. Yeah.
Yes, separate matters meaning separate meaning between the Workers' Party and the Secretary General on one hand and Ms. Khan on the other.
Yeah, I suppose.
That's what you meant, right?
Yeah.
It goes on to say for victims, Risa has apologized to the SPF, victims of sexual assault, her constituents, WP members, volunteers, parents. She shared with me that she wanted to set the record straight in Parliament. Again, just pausing for a moment, this will probably make reference to the various discussions that Ms. Khan had with Mr. Singh, presumably culminating on the period around the 12th of October, correct?
Yeah,
Or there
correct.
might be others, to your
Yeah,
knowledge.
I mean, they might have conversations between the 4th of October to the 12th of October, but I don't know the details of those discussions, if they had any.
And it goes on to say this was the correct thing to do.
Yeah.
This suggests that prior to this statement being made and the apology being tendered on the 1st of November, he had no knowledge of this.
I don't know.
All right. But overall, would you accept that objectively? I know I'm not asking you to read into other people's state of mind or intentions, but objectively. I mean, you're an editor,
Yeah.
you edit content,
Yes.
you obviously have a good experience in that, having majored in history as well.
Yes.
Objectively, this statement conveys the impression that the Secretary General and the Workers' Party in general were not aware of the falsehoods spoken by Ms. Khan in Parliament prior to the 1st of November, right?
Again, I cannot, because, many people read this and everyone will have different opinions of this.
I'm just asking for a reaction.
Yeah, I know.
From you.
To me, given that I knew what happened when I read this, it felt that the omission of their involvement was intentional.
Yes, and that's quite stark by its omission, right?
Yeah,
Given all that you know that has happened,
correct.
which includes Mr. Singh, Mr. Manap, and Ms. Lim's knowledge of the falsehood from a few days after the 3rd of August,
Yeah.
correct? Now, can you go to the next statement on the 2nd of November? And this time around is a Workers' Party media statement. It says that the Workers' Party CEC has approved the formation of a disciplinary panel to look into the admissions made by MP Risa Khan in Parliament on 1st November, arising from an earlier speech made by the MP in Parliament on 3rd of August 2021. The panel comprises Secretary General Pritam Singh, Chair Sylvia Lim, and Vice Chair Faisal Manap. The panel will report its findings and recommendations to the CEC after it completes its work. And it goes on to say that the work of the DP is separate from the COP.
Yeah.
Now, Ms. Loh, did it not strike you as surprising that this step was being taken? I mean, we talked about it earlier, and I think you
Yeah.
said yes, that
Yeah.
they had set up a DP to do this.
Mm.
And it would be surprising because actually the very people on this DP were well aware of the truth of the matter
Yeah.
from a few days after the 3rd of August.
Yeah.
So the very people who were involved knew that it was untrue, knew that she perpetrated the untruth in Parliament again 2 months later, is now the only members of a DP set up, and I look at the words here, to look into the admissions by Ms. Khan.
Yeah.
Ms. Loh, this is a completely self-serving panel, right?
I admittedly, I think that's a bit of a loaded question. But when I saw this, okay, I'm willing to give a bit more information. The morning of the 2nd of November, Mr. Pritam Singh had messaged me to inform me that he would be doing this, and that a party would be, I presumably the party would follow with a statement on this matter. And I had relayed to him that, I trust that they will make the right decision. I said that as an immediate response, but I was surprised. And later on hindsight, when I thought more about it, I do think that it's a major conflict of interest, yes.
It's not just a major conflict of interest, for which I agree with you in the first place, given now what we know they knew.
Mm.
But it's also self-serving in that, does it not seek to, as I said earlier, draw a line between the Workers' Party and Ms. Khan
Yeah.
and seek to do something which ultimately will put the blame entirely on Ms. Khan?
When the disciplinary panel convened, my feelings was that, okay, it's appropriate and necessary to some degree because she did do, it's a serious mistake that she did, and very serious thing that she lied in Parliament, and therefore makes sense that she should be disciplined. Yeah, but I disagree with how it was done and executed. My personal opinion is if they felt that disciplinary action was necessary, they should have done that from the very beginning, when they knew on the 3rd of
Yes.
August, following the 3rd of August. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. And would it not have been appropriate when such a statement is issued to disclose that actually the 3 members on the DP had intimate knowledge of the falsehood from an early stage, and let the public judge what they do in that context, if they should still continue to sit on the DP, correct?
Yeah, I fully agree with that.
That would be fair, right?
Yeah,
And that would also be fair to Ms. Khan, right?
yeah,
Because Ms. Khan will be entitled to say, actually, I came to you. The very people who are now judging me, I came to you for guidance, for counseling, for advice. And these are the very same senior party members of the Workers' Party, right?
yeah.
And so, would you not accept, Ms. Loh, that the circumstances in which this DP was set up is far from usual, in fact, highly suspicious?
I don't know if I would use the word suspicious. If I were to give my own take on it, I feel that perhaps the 3 did not realize the severity or the consequences that would follow after her statement in Parliament. After her 1st of November statement, and that they felt necessary to then take this action to form a disciplinary panel.
But, Ms. Loh, we talked about it earlier.
Yeah.
Just to recount, even after the 3rd of August, there were already some commentaries, some editorials, and I can show them to you if you like.
No, I am aware of them, yeah.
So that's 3 months prior to this statement.
Yeah, I understand.
And then in
that, yeah.
October, if nothing else, there was, at least in the minds of these 3 individuals, they knew that what she was saying in Parliament on the 4th of October was false. And these are the very same people looking into those falsehoods and deciding what to do with her. That's highly unusual and, as I said, quite suspicious, right?
I would say highly unusual. I don't know if I would use the word suspicious.
You said that Mr. Singh messaged you ahead of the statement being issued on the 2nd of November.
Yeah.
Can you give us the broad gist of that discussion?
It was literally just 2 messages. He said to me, this is happening, and then I said, okay, I trust the party leaders. I mean, I trust that the DP would, make the right decision. Yeah.
Did you discuss this with anyone else, in particular Ms. Khan and Mr. Nathan?
I believe I told Mr. Nathan.
What was his reaction?
He was also surprised.
For the same reasons we've just been discussing.
I don't know what his reasons are, but I suppose similar, yeah.
What did he say to lead you to believe that he was surprised?
I can't recall exactly, but I can't recall exactly.
But you would have those messages, and so could you please also
Yeah.
make them available? Thank you.
Okay.
Now, this DP, since it was set up on the 2nd of November, we understand has now concluded its work. Were you in any way aware of what happened, who was called, what was discussed, what documents was produced to the DP?
So at some point after the announcement of the DP, as the member of the Workers' Party, I received a text message stating that the panel was now inviting comments from members of the Workers' Party and that they can sort of arrange a time to meet with the DP. I don't know who has met the DP specifically, but I personally made a request to meet the DP on the 25th of November.
You met or you made a request to meet?
I met them on the 25th.
Can you outline what happened at this meeting?
I gave them my honest thoughts on everything.
Hang on. We'll come to that.
Yeah.
But first of all, where did this take place?
Workers' Party headquarters.
What time?
My session was at 8:30.
In the morning or evening?
Or PM.
PM. Who was present?
Mr. Nathan was with me and the 3 DP members. Yeah,
So you went to see the DP jointly with Mr. Nathan.
that's right.
And did you and Mr. Nathan discuss ahead of time what you were going to
Yeah.
be saying?
We did.
You did. Can you go into the gist of those discussions, please?
I gave the DP my very frank opinion, which is
Sorry.
yeah.
What I meant to say was, tell me what you and Mr. Nathan discussed first, before telling me what you told the DP.
Oh, what we discussed is exactly what we told the DP.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Then please go ahead and tell me what you told the DP.
We came prepared with quite a number of points. The first point was, some context. We had a feeling that one of the decisions that they might make would be to expel Ms. Han from the Workers' Party, because that was what we had seen online and amongst chatter, amongst members of the Workers' Party. That's what we knew a lot of people had on their minds. As you can see, like a lot of newspapers also called for that. So we went in to try and prevent them from doing that. I guess, not prevent, but to give them our reasons for why they should not do that.
What were your reasons?
One of the reasons I gave was, everybody makes mistakes, and while hers was very severe, other WP MPs have also made mistakes, and that expelling her would set a very bad precedent, because then it would have, basically expulsion or resigning from a post would be the only option. So those were one of my reasons. Another reason I gave is that and this is also my personal opinion, I think it's very irresponsible to leave a seat in Parliament unoccupied. Because the way I saw it, no matter how the other MPs are rotated, it felt like Compassville residents would not get the proper representation that they deserve, and that is my personal opinion. I also told them that the CEC and especially the DP should tell the public the true timeline of events, which I have shared here today, that when they knew, what courses of action they took. Yeah, I told them you should make this public knowledge, barring confidential and personal information, meaning, details of Ms. Raisa Han's life and things like that. I also shared with them my personal opinion of her, that she's a good, kind-hearted, compassionate person, and that was something to be noted for and accounted for. Yeah.
Right, thank you. Did Mr. Nathan make the same points, or were there?
Yeah, I mean, we made it together. Yeah.
You both had a consensus on these points. On your last point about the timeline, the reason you raised that is because this would be in the spirit of frank, open, transparent, and
Yeah, I
candor,
believe that.
right?
Yeah.
And that is necessary for people in the public to know.
I fully agree with that. Yeah.
And not disclosing it suggests an agenda that would be unusual.
I wouldn't say it suggests an agenda that was unusual, but I think it's highly unfair to Ms. Han. Yeah.
And also less than honest to the public.
Yes. Yes.
What were the questions asked of you and Mr. Nathan by the panel?
They didn't ask us questions. We went there to tell them our opinions.
So they just sat there in silence?
No lah. They disagreed with some of the things I shared.
Can you explain?
I gave them in my opinion, which is I said if Ms. Raisa Han were to be expelled from Sengkang or from Workers' Party, that the remaining 3 Sengkang MPs should step down and rerun the entire GRC. And that is my personal opinion, which Ms. Sylvia Lim and Mr. Pritam Singh disagreed. And Ms. Sylvia Lim did bring up an anecdote about, I believe, the motion that Ms. Teo Lee An put out in Parliament many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To explain why it ought, or it need not be a natural consequence of one MP stepping down for the entire GRC to step down.
Yeah, basically that, is disproportionate to by-election the whole GRC.
Okay.
Yeah.
What else did they comment on or disagree on to you or Mr. Nathan?
Well, I also did mention to Mr. Pritam Singh that it's a connected point. So I told him you should tell the public the truth, or at least relay a timeline of the events, because it shows his involvement in the proceedings, of what has happened. And that, sorry, I'm trying to
Sure.
collect my thoughts. And I told him that he has a degree of responsibility on what transpired on the 4th of October, because he's leader of the party and leader of the opposition. And he could have made a clarification then if he wanted to. Yeah, and I think it's important the public knows that.
When you say tell the public the truth, to make the clarification, you mean about his own level of involvement and knowledge, and that of Ms. Lim and Mr. Manap as well? The 3 members were on the panel.
I don't know if I would agree that he will share all of that with Parliament on the 4th of October, but I definitely do think he should have, said something. Yeah.
At least, if nothing else, at the very latest point in time, at the time you set up a panel comprising the very 3 members who knew about the falsehoods early on and who knew that it was repeated on the 4th of October, right? That's what you mean by tell the public the truth.
Yeah. At some point, basically.
Yes. Well, certainly before the point at which the DP has concluded its findings, which seems to have been done yesterday or a couple of days ago, right?
Yeah. So, sorry, I was trying to recall the point I was trying to make. So when I shared with Mr. Singh my thoughts, he had a disagreement with me that he gave her a choice on the 4th of October, which is, him saying, I won't judge you. Yeah, he reiterated that. So he disagreed with me in the sense that he didn't think it was explicitly his responsibility to step up and clarify.
So he's saying that despite knowing that what was said on the 3rd of August was untrue, was false, he was prepared to sit back and listen to another of his party members in Parliament, in answer to questions by a cabinet minister, repeat the falsehoods, perpetrate the untruths 2 months later, and that was a choice he's prepared to make as leader of the party. Is that an accurate summary of what he said to you?
I don't know if that's an accurate summary, but as I said, when he says to her, I will not judge you, he should have prepared for an either-or consequence.
Meaning he should be prepared that if this thing results in an inquiry like it has done now, that he should be prepared to step up
Yeah.
and accept responsibility for his role,
Yeah.
acknowledge. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
When you made the point about coming clean to tell the public the truth, what was the reaction of the other 2 members of the panel?
They didn't say anything, they just nodded their heads and jotted down what I said.
They didn't disagree with you?
No.
All right.
They didn't say anything, so I don't know if they agreed or disagreed.
Is there a recording of what happened? Who kept notes of what happened at the
There was no recording, no phone or whatever. And I didn't see anyone taking minutes, but all 3 were taking notes.
So they had their own notes.
Yeah.
And did you come prepared with something in writing? Did you give something to them?
So it was kind of in my phone and in my head, and then I had to put my phone away because they didn't allow me to bring my phone in, so I jotted it down on the paper, but I threw that away already.
Okay, all right. And so what you've given us is as best as you can remember and
Yeah.
count.
Correct.
But it is likely that the Workers' Party DP would have kept notes of what you said to them.
I'm not sure. Yeah. I don't know to what extent how thorough the notes are.
Yes, but you did see them taking down some notes as you were speaking.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Now, a few more questions on the DP. Do you know who else went before the DP to give? Because you said that there was a message you received to come and give their comments to the DP, right?
I don't know who else went to the DP.
When did you receive this message?
SMS?
Yes. When was it?
When? I can't remember.
A day or 2 after the 2nd of November, or is it closer to when you met with them, which is 25th of November?
I can't remember, but I can go and check my phone.
That would
Yeah.
be useful. Thank you. Going back to my earlier question, do you know if any other activists or volunteer or cadre member went to see the DP?
No, to my knowledge, the DP is strictly for members.
Okay. Did Ms. Khan see the DP?
To my knowledge, yeah, she wasn't one of the, she's the subject of inquiry, right?
Yes.
So I think she did meet the DP at some point, but I don't think she went there as in response to the call for members to,
Okay.
meet with the
Did,
DP.
did she share with you what was discussed at the DP?
No, not in tremendous detail.
Tell
Yeah.
us what detail she gave you. First of all, when did she see the DP?
I know that I don't know. I'm not privy of the exact, timing and day and things like that. But at some point, she did meet the DP. I believe she met them twice. The first one, I'm not sure when, and I'm not fully aware of what exactly was exchanged. I think they just had, I think from what she shared with me, there were some questions and she had gone in to answer them lah. Yeah. And then I know she met again on the day I think she met them actually this Monday, the Monday that just passed.
That would have been the
29th of November.
Right. Are you aware of the contents of the discussion she had with the DP?
She shared with me, yeah,
Orally or in my messaging?
orally.
Can you give us a gist of what happened?
She said that they were strongly encouraging her. Okay, I mean, I don't know if I'm making this up. Like, not that I'm making things up, but
No, just
I
tell
want to
us.
be careful with the
Yes.
words that I use because, you know, I wasn't part of this conversation. It was secondhand
Yes,
information.
yeah, Ms. Loh, I mean, you're right in being careful, so I thank you for
Yeah.
that. But what we want you to do is just to recount what she said.
I know,
to
I
you.
know. I think she said, I mean, she was quite emotional on the phone. Okay, that's first of all. And second, she said that they asked her to think about resignation. Yeah.
What was her reaction to that?
She was very, very upset.
And she was upset because she
She didn't, at that point of time, on Monday, she had not wanted to resign.
And in fact, the thrust of your submission to the DP was why she should not be expelled
Correct.
or made to resign, right?
Yeah.
Because you felt that, well, besides the excuse, the reasons you've given, people make mistakes, you also felt that this was something where the senior leadership had been aware and
Yeah.
had acted in, if not based on their advice, at least with their acquiescence and their knowledge,
Yes.
right? So those are the reasons why you felt that she should not be expelled. And
I mean, many reasons lah. As I said, like, one, I think it's not right to leave the residents of Compassville unrepresented in Parliament. Second, that they were involved in the sense that they had knowledge of, you know, the lie is her mistake, yes, but thereafter they are involved. And, you know, as you said, it's like, you know, a few months worth of, you know, back and forth sort of thing.
Right,
Yeah.
and this few months of back and forth, at least these three members of the DP
Yeah,
were
at least the
intimately
three of
involved,
them knew.
correct? Not just knew, but I think they were intimately involved because they knew what was happening shortly after 3rd of August, and they also gave comments and crafted a statement on the 1st of November.
So I don't know if Mr. Faisal Manap was involved in the crafting of the statement. I only know that at least Mr. Singh and Ms. Sylvia Lim was involved.
So what I had just said applies certainly to Mr. Singh and Mr. Lim,
Yeah.
but not so sure about Mr. Manap,
Yeah.
right? What was Ms. Han's reaction to being asked to think about resigning?
She was, as I said, very, very upset. Yeah.
But we now know that she has done so.
Yes.
When you spoke with her on the phone, you said she was emotional. Did you, from your perspective, I'm not asking you to read her mind per se, but from your perspective, from what she said and how she sounded, did you think she felt pressured to resign?
No, I don't think she felt pressured. And
In the context of a discussion like this,
yeah.
and again, let me paint the context. There was a falsehood, yes, it's a mistake. Discussed with senior party leaders. Discussed with Mr. Singh before 4th of October, where she expected to face questions, further questions on this. He was in chamber. Meeting at his home on the 12th of October. Discussions thereafter on what to do. No mention of consequences. No mention of a DP in particular. And certainly no mention of you having to step down and resign. In that context, I'm saying, would she not have, at the very least, felt unnerved or affected by the suggestion that she should now resign, and with that, signal that she should take responsibility for what has happened entirely?
She was definitely unnerved. But I think they were also careful to not instruct, which is why I think I said that the resignation was something she should consider. But I think even an acknowledgement that that is something that she should do or consider taking was very disappointing to her.
And unexpected.
I wouldn't say unexpected, as I said, because a lot of people have been calling for her resignation.
Yes, but
Yeah.
a lot of people are basically outsiders. They are people in the press, people in the media, third parties. I'm focused on the people who actually knew what was happening. In that context, given what had transpired, from Ms. Khan's perspective, it would have been unexpected.
Again, I wouldn't use the term unexpected because it was something that I think people knew were on the cards, but even Ms. Han herself. But I think she felt very let down. Yeah.
And just,
Again, this is an assumption of how I think she felt.
of course, she will come and give evidence as well, and we will ask her that.
Yeah.
But it's useful from your perspective, and I thank you very much for that. Just want to confirm, too, that she had not discussed or broached the subject of either having a disciplinary inquiry or panel or having to step down. That was not something that she had told you was discussed between herself and Mr. Singh or Ms. Lim or Mr. Manap, correct?
Discussed as in like
Right.
prior to her statement.
Prior to her statement.
Yeah, no, it was all new lah. Yeah.
Okay. Now, when Ms. Khan went before the disciplinary panel, and as we saw, the panel was set up to look into the false statements, and I'm paraphrasing, false statements and her admission of the false statements, and what now to do with her. That's the thrust of the panel's terms of reference, as it were, right? Would not one answer by Ms. Khan be that, hey, why are you asking me this? You all knew all along what has been happening.
I mean, I don't know what she thought about it lah. But actually I do. Sorry, I'm just recalling now. I think when the
Please
DP
do
was
share that with us.
when the DP was convened, she expressed surprise. Yeah.
And can you elaborate?
I suppose she didn't. Again, I don't want to be putting words in her mouth, but I think maybe to some degree she felt a bit betrayed because, again, there was no inkling that it might happen lah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, no inkling that it might happen, and you said betrayed, presumably because you felt that since she's been
She had been
involving them,
transparent with them from the start.
open
Yeah.
to them, yes, transparent in your words, open, consulting even, getting advice on what to do, meeting at his home, and then suddenly to see that there's an inquiry, culminating maybe a few days ago in an
Yeah. I don't know if she met at his place, but they had meetings.
you
lah.
did, but
Yeah, I did.
She might have. So, but culminating in a suggestion to consider resigning was certainly the backdrop to why you say you think she felt betrayed,
Yeah.
right? Can I ask you to please look at the statement issued by the party?
This one.
Maybe the clerks could assist me, please. The statement issued by the Workers' Party on there isn't a date, but I think this is
Oh, it's the same one.
30th of November, right? Do you have a copy with you?
The 2nd of November.
No, the 30th of November.
I don't have that. This is the 2nd of November statement.
30th November.
This is two, both are the same. I need the 30th. I presume you're referring to WP's statement on her resignation?
Yes, that's right. Do you have that?
No, I don't have it.
Maybe
No, this is the disciplinary panel.
I think this lady behind will give you a copy.
Yes, that's the one. Thank you.
So, Ms. Loh, you would have seen the statement.
Yeah, I did.
It's a short statement. It just says that she has resigned from the party.
Yeah.
Talks about the CEC meeting on the 30th of November, which I think you also referred to earlier. And then it talks about Ms. Khan at 4:30 on the 30th of November, indicating her wish to resign. And then a party press conference that will be held on the 2nd of December. So the circumstances that we have just been discussing in relation to the calling of the DP, her intentions, her thinking, and so on, the background information, all of that should be read in the context, or rather this statement ought to be read in the context of all that has happened to fully understand why it is and how it is that Ms. Khan has now come to resign from the party, right? Do you have any knowledge in relation to why she decided to resign at 4:30 on the 30th of November before the CEC meeting?
I do.
Can you share that with us, please?
She had called. She had called. I can't remember if she had called me or I had called her earlier that day. But I think we had a phone call, and she had expressed to me her desire to resign, and I tried to. I tried to discourage her from it again and again because I've told you all the reasons why I think it was not the correct thing to do. But I think she felt that she just couldn't continue with the knowledge that she already had. Yeah.
The knowledge that she had, can you be a bit more precise? What is it?
The knowledge that she had been asked to consider resignation.
Yes. So that was a key factor for her.
Yeah, and definitely her decision to resign is definitely hers alone.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you would say influenced by a key factor, which is
yeah, I would say it was influence. Yeah.
So, I mean, put it this way, Ms. Loh, whether you're an employer, employee, or a member of a party,
Yeah.
if the employer or the party has signaled that you should consider resigning,
Yeah.
I think that's a very powerful statement, right?
Yes, and I think for her, she felt like she no longer had the support needed to continue. Yeah. And which is why she decided to resign.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so she decided to do it even before the CEC met.
Yeah.
Do you know what happened at the CEC meeting on the 30th of November?
No, I don't know. I mean, I know basically what's here, that she met them. She said, I would like to resign. Yeah.
Okay. I know it's been a while, and I'm sorry to keep you here. I just have
it's
a few
okay.
more questions to wrap up so that we are clear on the facts, okay? On the Ms. Khan's involvement with the DP, I just want to get the dates right so that I'm clear. The DP was set up on, at least announced on the 2nd of November. And then you told me that at some stage there was a mass notice to members to come and give
Yeah.
statements, and you don't know who and how many went to give statements, right? But you do know that Ms. Khan went to the DP on 2 occasions.
She met the DP on 2 occasions. Yeah.
Is it 2 or at least 2 occasions?
At least 2.
At least 2. Would you be able to give me the rough dates? If you don't know them now, presumably you might have been told by Ms. Khan before she went that she was going, and you might then be able to see a message trail.
Yeah, I will have to go and look at my messages.
Could you please do that so that we have a timeline for this?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you and Ms. Han discuss what materials she should prepare to go for this meeting with the DP?
Did me and Ms. Han discuss?
Yes.
I think she was asked to provide some evidence, and I had met up with her on Deepavali. It was public holiday, and I knew she was feeling really down, so I offered to visit her at her place, and we briefly discussed it, where I know she was asked to provide some evidence that was the discussion we had about her first meeting with the DP.
What kind of evidence was she asked to produce?
I think, about why she lied and, anything related to perhaps the support group.
But what's the nature of this evidence going to do for the DP when the DP already knew that she had lied and she had given a statement and she repeated it on the 4th of October?
I'm not sure.
Did you help her to prepare any notes of what she would say?
I'm sorry, we've had a crash on our computer here.
Oh.
Just need one moment.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Can I offer you any more water? Or
Yeah, yes, please.
could you please help her with some water?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Ms. Loh, sorry, you were in the middle of an answer. I asked you, just to repeat, what's the nature of this evidence going to do when the DP already knew that she had lied, given a statement, and repeated it on the 4th of October?
My answer, I think, was I don't know.
Yeah, okay. I had to ask you again because they didn't capture the answer.
Okay.
And then you mentioned that you met her at home on Deepavali, which I've ascertained to be the 4th of November.
Yeah.
So by the 4th of November, she knew she was going to be facing this DP, but had not yet seen them.
Yeah, correct.
But by that time, she had already been asked to produce evidence,
Yeah, correct.
right?
Yeah.
Do you know how they communicated with her to produce this evidence?
I believe it was via email.
By email. Okay. And did she share the email with you?
No, she didn't. She just told me.
Okay. And roughly, if you can remember, how long after the 4th of November did she go and see the DP?
I can't remember.
After she saw the DP for the first time, did she discuss it with you? Did you get a debrief?
I can't remember. I will have to check.
Okay. And then she had her second meeting before or after your 25th of November meeting with the DP?
After.
After.
Yeah, as I said, she met them, I believe, on the morning of 29th November, Monday.
I see. And that was the second meeting?
Yeah.
You're not aware if there might have been a third one before the
Yeah.
30th of November?
No, I'm not aware. Am I allowed to add something?
Yes, of course.
A lot of the things that I'm sharing here today is shared with me by Ms. Han in my capacity as a friend and a confidant. Yeah. And I believe that technically I'm not supposed to know a lot of these things.
Yes, I understand the context in which it was shared with you, but here in the context of this question that we are tasked to look into,
Yeah.
we do have to evaluate the factual circumstances.
I understand.
And we do have to reach conclusions on them.
Yeah.
So what you share with us will be helpful for us
Yeah.
to reach a holistic view on this.
I mean, I want to be as truthful as I can, but I'm just, clarifying that.
Yes, of course.
Maybe I would just reinforce the point. I think we are fact-finding.
Yeah.
Trying to understand the circumstance, because as you're aware, what has transpired in Parliament is serious.
Yeah.
And while she has admitted it, we are also assessing her culpability. Are there mitigating factors and so on? So I think the full context of it, as explained by Minister Edwin, it's important for us.
I understand.
So I understand the tensions you might feel, because some of these things are shared in confidence, but
Yeah.
I hope you understand the context, why it's important for us to understand, so that we can eventually evaluate and ascertain why it happened, how it happened, and I guess the degree to which she bears responsibility for actions.
I understand. It's just, I admittedly I don't feel fully comfortable because, I mean, she trusted me lah.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. And we appreciate what you're sharing with us.
Okay, Ms. Loh, I just have a couple more questions to ask you, and I want to focus on the request by the police to interview Ms. Khan.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the best thing to do is just show you a document because it's probably shortcuts
Okay.
the facts. Could the clerks assist me, please? This is a copy of a police statement issued on the 20th of October.
Thank you.
So it sets out some dates in there. Just to refresh, 3rd August was the parliamentary sitting. 4th October was the exchange with Minister Shanmugam. And then it goes into the 4th paragraph here and says that there's an email sent on the 7th of October and again on the 15th of October inviting Ms. Han to get in touch with the police for an interview. Now, pausing for a moment, were you aware of this at the time it happened?
Yeah, she did share with me that the police had emailed her.
Was there a discussion on what the appropriate response ought to be?
I mean, I had just reacted like a, not necessarily like a, oh my gosh, but like a, oh no, kind of thing. But beyond that, I can't recall if we discussed it lah, but I think I might have suggested that, she should go and find a lawyer. Yeah.
Not necessarily the best thing to do, always.
I mean, I as a friend, I was like, there's absolutely nothing I can do to help you at this point. So somebody who's more professional at this would be better. Yeah.
But was there a discussion on what she should do? I mean, should she see the police? Should she respond? Because
I didn't discuss that with her.
I see.
I just said, yeah, go lawyer up.
Do you know if she discussed it with anyone within Workers' Party?
I believe later on she did inform Mr. Pritam Singh. Yeah, I think at some point she told me she shared it with him.
Right. Do you know what his response was to this?
No, I don't know.
Okay. Is there any reason that you can shed light as to why she did not respond to the 2 police emails?
No, I can't. I don't know why she didn't respond.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got no further questions for Ms. Loh. Thank you very much, Ms. Loh.
Okay.
I appreciate that you've been trying your best to help us with the details, and I appreciate it very much.
Mr. Graceful.
Thank you very much, Ms. Loh. If you allow me, I'll actually refer to something that you said earlier on, quite early in the process.
Mm.
You'll just repeat what you have said and captured here. Please let us know if it's not captured accurately. Yeah? She told us this is in response to your Zoom discussion with Ms. Khan as well as Mr. Nathan.
Yeah.
She told us that she had lied because she was once a victim or survivor herself of sexual assault. She relayed to us that this has happened when she was overseas, when she was 18, and that she had sought, I guess, to heal from this episode by attending support groups. And that's when she learned of this anecdote. Without going into specifics about, her circumstances, did she share with you whether this support group was actually held in Singapore or in the US? Because I understand that what has happened to her actually happened in the US.
I don't know if it happened in the US, yeah, but I surprisingly have never asked her that question. Sorry, I lost track of my thought there, but yeah, the support group is in Singapore.
So actually, you have actually in her discussion confirmed with her that she has attended support groups in Singapore.
Correct.
Thank you.
Zaki.
Thanks so much for your statements earlier. I just have a couple of questions which I thought, would give us better sense of her thinking and her reflections. You know, we've already established the part that confidentiality was not necessary for her to put forth the case that she wanted to make, and in therefore doing that made a false statement. So, but you know, in the last general election, she also raised another point about the police, and how they discriminated against certain segments and race. Do you know whether there is an agenda, in her mind, against the police or agencies of law, or people law, and then whether that was an agenda that motivated her enough to make this lie?
No, there was no agenda. She really just wanted to help sexual assault victims.
Okay, but there's a certain pattern that you see, against
I
the police and
understand.
the law.
Yeah, but my understanding of her character and her personality, and having worked with her in the last 1.5 years, that was not her agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
The second question I had was between August 7 and 8 and before 1st November, was it ever in her mind, before the disciplinary committee spoke to her about resigning, that resignation or coming clean would be something to do?
Sorry, I don't fully
So
understand
basically
your
means
question.
at any point before she was asked to resign by the resignation committee, whether she ever considered coming clean before being forced to come clean on 1st November, or to consider resignation as an act, because
Right, before the 1st of November.
yes.
At some point of our, discussions between just me and her, I think I felt the stress that she was feeling, and I did tell her that as a friend, and I say this completely as a friend. I said, if it's too much to bear, you can resign. Yeah. But she immediately said no, and she said that's not the right thing to do. Like, she wanted to do the right thing for her residents, and that she should come clean. Yeah.
And in her view, in saying that, she does not feel that, that failure to be truthful and honest and not living up to the expectations in terms of integrity of a member of parliament and representative of the people, I think that didn't occur to her in terms of what she had done and this reflection.
I don't think that's accurate. Definitely she feels very guilty, and she's very aware that it's a very serious offense. I don't know if I will use the word offense, but a very serious thing to do, lah. Yeah. And she's fully aware of that, and she feels very bad. Yeah. Which is, my personal take is that, yeah, it was definitely her mistake to lie, and it was definitely something she shouldn't do. But it also took a lot of courage for her to come clean on the 1st of November, knowing that a lot of this would follow. And also at the same time having to reveal a very private aspect of herself that even her parents did not know until very recently. So I think that courage stems from her desire to want to do the right thing, and and also because she probably felt guilty about lying to Parliament.
What part of it was also that sense that she had the support of the party and leadership to continue, despite knowing that, this is what she's done so far?
I would say that's true, that she felt that she had the support at the time.
From the leadership and the
Yeah.
CEC. Thank you.
Mr. Donry.
Hi, Ms. Loh.
Hi.
So Workers' Party held a press conference, which ended about half an hour ago.
Oh, so it was in the morning. I didn't know what time it was.
So during the conference, Mr. Pritam Singh actually informed the press that the leadership was aware of the untruth a week after the October 3rd sitting. So he also mentioned that he had told Ms. Khan to clarify in October. So do you agree with this statement?
So he told the public that he only knew 1 week after the 4th of October.
Yep, and he also told Ms. Khan to repeat the untruth and clarify in Parliament in October. However, despite being asked to do so, Ms. Khan did not do so. So Mr. Pitam Singh said that a moment ago.
All I can say is that's very disappointing to hear.
At the same time, he also told the press that he had told Ms. Khan to contact the victim and any relevant individuals, as the authorities will be likely to seek clarification from Ms. Khan. Did Ms. Khan actually tell you that the party leadership actually told her to...
They might have, but I don't know this part.
Thank you.
Mr. Dennis Tan? No questions. Mr. Desmond Lee?
Afternoon, Ms. Loh. Just
Hi. Yeah.
some basic questions.
Mm.
There's a gentleman by the name of Mr. Lim Hang Ling, who's on our agenda sheet, the legislative assistant to
Yeah.
the Member of Parliament, former Member of Parliament for Sengkang GRC, Ms. Raisha Khan. Are you aware of this gentleman?
Yeah, we know him as Mike.
Mike.
Yeah, he doesn't like his Chinese name.
Thank you. What is his role as a legislative assistant from your understanding?
His role as the legislative assistant, I think it's a bit different from perhaps PAP MPs. From WP MPs, the legislative assistant primarily looks after groundwork, such as organizing events, rostering like house visits, doing, estate walks and things like that. So that is his primary responsibility. He also, I guess, sometimes assists with, following up with like estate management matters. For example, there's like a dustbin that's very full and things like that. He would help relay that concern back to town council.
Because in the earlier evidence you gave this morning, you mentioned Mr. Nathan and yourself principally, but made no mention of this gentleman, Mr. Lim. From your understanding, was he involved in any of the relevant speeches that Ms. Khan had made?
No, not at all. And I think when you meet Mr. Lim, I presume you all haven't met him yet. Yeah, when you meet him, you'll understand he's not, he doesn't really get involved at all with legislative work specifically, like parliamentary work, yeah.
But in relation to the matters of the 3rd of August, and subsequently in October, do you know if Mr. Mike Lim was involved?
No, he did not know, yeah. He only knew, like, pretty much when the statement was about to be made.
Yeah. The November statement?
Yeah, correct.
November.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you. No further questions.
Ms. Rahul Yumazam?
Thank you very much for your answers earlier. I just wanted to get some clarification on some points, just to understand your relationship with Ms. Raisa Khan, actually.
Yeah.
You seem to know her very well. You've had a friendship way before she came into politics?
Not at all, actually. I did not know her even when we were acquainted for the purposes of the general election because she was running as a candidate. But prior to that, I was not a friend of hers. Like, we were not personally acquainted, like close friends or anything, yeah.
But through the course of work, you actually know
Correct.
her very well and understand her.
Yeah, through the course of working as a secretarial assistant the last 1-ish year, yeah, I got to know her pretty well.
Okay. I wanted to just go to the point where, if you recall, she was asked on 1st of November by Leader of the House to explain why she put the untruths. And she gave 2 main points. One was because of her concern of the confidentiality point, because she wanted to protect the people involved. And we've established earlier that she didn't actually need to raise that. The second point was the fact that she was also facing her own challenges in terms of facing up to her own experiences. I wanted to ask, in terms of crafting